The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, guys, listen, this is in fact the immediate reaction, the immediate aftermath of Oscar Dwarte beating Kenneth Jr. in a really good fight. Close fight. Some would say controversial fight. Some people would say that Kenneth Jr. got robbed. I'm gonna go watch it back. I scored it a draw. I scored the fight a draw. I thought both guys had their fair share of momentum in the fight, but I know how these things go. I know generally speaking, when you have a fight this close, the judges are generally gonna give it to the guy who was a bit more on the front foot, a bit more aggressive, and that held true tonight in this fight. So there's a lot to dissect. This fight was great. Jojo Diaz versus Regis Prograis actually turned out to be a great fight, so we'll talk about that as well. But listen, let me first start out by saying, first and foremost, it's good to be live again, guys. I haven't been live since Shiraz, like just a couple days after Shiraz Berlanga, so trying to get on a consistent schedule going live. But I've been really active on Twitter. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, you guys know I've been tweeting my life away. I think over the last like 3 to 4 months, I've really taken a liking to Twitter, so I've been on there a lot. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter at True School Sports. But yeah, we're gonna be here for probably like an hour and some change. Just talk about the fights, talk about what this means for Oscar Dwarte moving forward. Talk about Prograis Diaz, and then we could even talk about anything else in boxing that you guys want to hear about from me. But let me go to the comments. Shout out to all 20 of you guys here. Make sure you guys take the time to smash that like button so this video gets pushed out to as many boxing fans as possible. A lot of people out there don't get my content because YouTube's always trying to keep True School Sports down. So smash that like button so this live could be as lit as humanly possible. But let me speak of my man Hand History Vaults. He said I didn't come home in time. I didn't make it home in time to watch it. Watch the fight. There were good fights. Fernando Parra says I would have been fine with a draw, but I had a win for Dwarte. Good fights tonight overall. And then my man James Valdez says, I came to smash that like button. Yes, sir. Thank you, James. Good to see you, champ. Fix Electronics says, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Yes, sir. And then Al the Pal says, what it do? What it do, Al the Pal? Good to see you. And then my main man from the BX, he says, I bet they make Regis versus Ryan. That sounds like a good move from a management standpoint. Regis. Well, before we get to Dwarte Sims, because Dwarte Sims was a good fight, in my opinion, the fight of the night was actually the co-main event. The fight that stole the show was Jojo Diaz and it was Jojo Diaz and whatchamacallit, and why am I blanking out? Jojo Diaz and Prograis. Yeah, Jojo Diaz and Prograis. There you go, BT. But no, it was a good fight because a really good fight, and it far exceeded expectations because Prograis and Diaz are, let's face it, who am I? I know I'm the armchair quarterback. I ain't in the ring, so far be it for me to say this, but I got 4 eyes. This prescription still works. Yo, they both seen better days. They're both, for lack of a better term, they're both washed up right now. But I'll give them both credit. Like tonight, they both gave 150% effort, and while, like I said on Twitter, while Regis and Jojo have both seen better days, they did their best tonight to make sure that us, the boxing fans, would remember these last days in boxing, because it was a really good fight. I think the consensus going in was that, yes, they are both old, right? They are both washed, right? But the consensus going in was that as old and as washed as they are, Regis Prograis would clearly be better than Jojo, because Regis has only lost a couple of fights of late to Catterall and to Haney. Jojo's been losing to everyone. Like everyone. So people had very low expectation for Jojo Diaz, and he came out in the first couple of rounds, and especially in that first round he came out and he had programmed the button over and over and over again, and he had Regis Prograis doing the stanky leg. Regis Prograis looked like he was about to get packed up in the first round, so he had to regroup. He had to get his legs under him. Eventually he did, and he settled in. And he boxed well throughout the fight, but like Regis Prograis, he's getting hit a lot by Jojo Diaz because if you guys go back and you watch Prograis' prime years, the fights against Taylor, Kyle Relic, all them days back in the World Boxing Super Series, Regis Prograis was a reflex fighter, and he was actually very slick. He didn't have the greatest of feet. He had very heavy feet, and that was exposed in the Devin Haney fight. But his upper body, his shoulders, extremely slick, extremely slick. So naturally, guys like him, as they get older, they tend to like not age gracefully because they're relying on the reflexes so much, and they showed itself a lot in this fight because Jojo would hit Regis with just volume punches because of all these volume punches he was throwing. Regis would try to do what he did, 5-6 years ago, being that reflex defensive fighter with the upper body movement, but he doesn't move like he used to do in that regard. So that's why he's getting tagged over and over again. And Jojo hurt him a couple of times. Now, this week's been a very interesting week in boxing because Ken Shiro Taraji, he lost a close decision to Ricardo Sandoval. Jojo Diaz loses a close decision to Prograis, and then Sims loses a close decision to Dwarte. So the word robbery has been thrown around a lot this week. But out of all those three fights, if there was one fight that I could say would have a case for robbery, if you want to really make a case for the fights this week, the big fights this week that have been robberies, I would say Jojo Diaz probably deserved the nod more than anybody that lost their big fights this weekend in the close fights. I thought he was the more effective puncher. He was the effective aggressor. He backed up Regis consistently in the fight. He hurt Regis multiple times, and he was just consistent throughout the rounds. As to where Regis, he lacked a lot of consistency, and I like Regis. Like personally, I want Regis to knock out Jojo Diaz because I have a soft spot for Regis. I've met him before. He's a great guy. I think he's been one of the true treasures of American boxing over the last 10 years. He steps up to the plate. He fights anybody, anywhere, anytime. Regis Prograis, he fought Josh Taylor, one of my favorite fighters, and one of my favorite fights of the last 10 years. And so I like him. I wanted him to win, but I feel like I'm not angry about it. But I feel like if anybody deserved the nod and all these close fights this weekend, or throughout this week, Jojo deserved the nod. And I did not think I'll be sitting here saying that. I thought Jojo was completely washed. I thought Jojo was toast. I thought he was completely done for. But that goes to show the whole world that when you go to the gym and you dedicate yourself and you really live that life and discipline yourself, you can still squeeze out a really good performance like this. So hey, credit to both of them. I know Regis said he wants to go be a world champion again, and I understand the ambition. Like he's tasted being a world champion not once but twice, and he wants to do it a third time. So I get it, but let's not kid ourselves here. Like Regis Prograis is completely washed, and Regis Prograis shouldn't fight anybody above this level. I think this fight was very entertaining, and I think these guys tonight in the ring. You look at Prograis' style, you look at Jojo's style. Their styles meshed amazingly. It was beautiful, honestly. I think they should do a rematch. I think they should be in a main event, and I think they should both get paid double of what they got tonight. Because when you step to the plate and you go in the ring and you put on entertaining fights to the fans, I feel like if a rematch is warranted and the first fight was entertaining, both fighters should be compensated accordingly. So I don't want to see Regis against Ryan Garcia. I don't want to see Regis versus Oscar Duarte or Kenneth Sims. No. Give me Regis versus Jojo 2, and I'll be more than okay. You don't need to do nothing else but that. Anything outside of that is ridiculous. So I'll leave that there, and I'll get y'all comments in a second. But listen, man, listen, guys. Don't be stingy. A lot of you guys say, BT, I missed the lives. I wish you were live more often. So here I am. I'm live right after the fight at a perfect time. I'm not waiting a day. I'm not waiting 2 days. I'm live right after the fights. Smash that like button, man. There's only 13 likes. We got like 39 people here. There should be like 25 likes at least. 25 likes. So run it up, and yeah. Shout out to my main man Philippians 413 with the $5 super chat. He says, I had to tap in real quick and show some love. The Marlins are kicking ass and taking names. Best record in baseball since the... Yes, sir. Hey, shout out to the hometown team, the Miami Marlins. They're doing this to the Yankees. They're putting belt to ass on the Yankees. They're playing great baseball, and it looks like they might have a chance to go to the playoffs this year. So it's fun times in South Florida for baseball. But good to see you, Philippians 413, and thank you for showing love as always. Um, let me see. Let me go. Let me before I get into Sims Duarte, because I know that's the main event. I know you guys want to hear about Sims Duarte. Let me read like 5 comments and then we'll go to Sim. We'll get into Sims Duarte. Let me see. Easy says, I got to see more from Golden Boy's black heavyweight. Hard to judge off of the guy he fought. Yeah, Joshua Edwards. I'm very familiar with Joshua Edwards. I've been knowing about and I've been knowing Joshua Edwards for like 3 years because back in 2022, myself, Sean Tattel, me and Sean Tattel went out to Colorado Springs with Sean Porter to go interview all the USA amateurs, and he was part of that team. He was an Olympian, so I know him really well. He's like 6'3", 6'4", something like that. Slick heavyweight, can punch. But right now in his pro career, it's way too early to even gauge anything. He's fought, for lack of a better term, he's fought some straight cans. But most guys at this stage fight some straight cans. So am I gonna sit here and do what Oscar De La Hoya did? Am I gonna crown the next great American heavyweight? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let that young man from Houston, Texas, get his chance to develop and grow into what God has destined for him to become, whatever that is in boxing. So, but so far so good, you know. Let me see. Oscar Duarte versus Isak Cruz. If you're looking for an entertaining fight, that could be a really entertaining fight. Jojo versus Arnold Barbosa. That could be a good one. You know, in Southern California, that probably does good business. You know, that could be a good regional fight. I'm not gonna say here and say that I want to see it, but you know, it's a good regional fight. Bro, I'm a PBC, so I want to say fuck PBC. Sims was number 1 at the WBA. They could have made him versus Pitbull. I'm sick. Yeah, they could have, but you know, it's the fight game. That's why I like management. That's why I always say like management is so important for a fighter. A fighter is only as good as his team. You wait too long sometimes, and you snooze and you lose. So it is what it is. But guys, look, let me get into my sim. Let's talk Sims Duarte. I got Jojo and Prograis out the way because that was really the fight that captivated my imagination and captured my attention. But let's talk about Duarte and Sims because this is a fight that was made last year. I actually remember going to Knucklehead's boxing gym last year in Las Vegas and interviewing Kenneth Sims Jr. And I remember when I was talking to him, you know, he seemed very confident and he should have been. You know, he was at that time, I think he was on a 7-fight win streak. He's won like 2 fights since then, so he's on a 9-fight winning streak. Kenneth Sims, for his weight and salt, and you know, for everything he's done in boxing, he's been probably one of the most consistent fighters in his weight class for the last 4 or 5 years. Hasn't got the big name opponents, but you know, remember they brought Kenneth Sims Jr. in to lose in the summer of 2021 against Elvis Rodriguez, who was a big prospect at that time, and he upset him. And he's just been beating fighters, and piling on wins ever since then, right? So this is a big fight in his career because Kenneth Sims and Duarte was a WBA eliminator. So obviously, with this being an eliminator fight, the winner of this fight becomes, a mandatory challenger to Gary Anton Russell, which I'm not really sure. I'm a bit confused on that because this Italian guy just became the interim champion, and then I know Andy Hiroka was like the regular. I think he's the regular champion. He's the #1 contender. So I'm a little confused with the WBA 140-pound picture, but I know that this was an eliminator. So the winner of this fight gets close to a title shot, or at least a big fight. So style-wise, I already everyone knew what it was coming in. You had Kenneth Sims Jr., who was a very consistent boxer behind his jab, going up against a short, compact, high guard Mexican pressure fighter. And we've seen these kind of matchups many times in boxing. Kenneth Sims Jr. So for those of you who didn't hear me say it earlier, I scored this fight a draw. I don't think Kenneth Sims was consistent enough to win the fight, and I don't think Duarte was consistent enough to win the fight. I thought it was a draw. I thought Kenneth Sims boxed a lot better than the DAZN commentary was saying, because Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora, I don't really grade those guys, and I don't regard them highly as commentators, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them, but sometimes I think they just be on some bullshit, like just straight up they be on some bullshit. So they were ignoring a lot of the good work that Kenneth Sims Jr. was doing, stabbing to the body, countering, landing sneaky body shots. But I think, especially in the first 6 rounds, there were a lot of rounds in the first 6 rounds where, because if you're the boxer and you're fighting a Mexican pressure fighter, it's expected that you're going to bank the early rounds. and he wasn't able to really do that. We get to round 2, round 3, Duarte's already in his face, already pushing him back, already like making things very, very difficult on him, right? So I thought Kenneth Sims Jr. Didn't get out to the start that he needed to win this fight. He needed to get out to a better start to really win this fight, because if he didn't bank these early rounds, you knew that Duarte was one of these fighters that's gonna get strong in the middle to later rounds, and he's gonna be one of these fighters that really truthfully he's gonna be hard to move in the later rounds, and his aggression will get him favoritism on the scorecards. Because generally speaking, if a fight is razor close, the fighter who is the more front foot dominant fighter and more aggressive, in most cases, is gonna get the benefit of the doubt, right? So it was no different here. I scored a 114, but before the decision was announced, I thought that Duarte would get the draw just because he's on the front foot more, and he's pushing Kenneth Sims Jr. back a little more. And when the scorecards got announced, I wasn't surprised. And it's crazy because, this was the first time in a while that a big time boxing event has been held in Chicago. And, I love Chicago. Listen, I'm not from Chicago. I don't got no family in Chicago. I got no reason to gas up Chicago, but man, I love Chicago. I think Chicago is one of the greatest cities in America. If you haven't experienced Chicago in the summertime, you haven't really experienced all the beauty and all the glory that the USA has to offer. Honestly, it's a great city. And it has a rich history of boxing, and it's one of those cities that should be getting fights more often. So I was happy that Golden Boy went back to Chicago, and the crowd was great, and the fighters seemed to like it, and the fights were great. So hopefully this could be the start of more boxing returning to Chicago. But these Chicago fighters, when they fight Mexican fighters, they don't get the benefit of the doubt for some reason. Because years ago, Adrian Granados fought Kermit Cintron on ESPN Friday Night Fights, and a lot of people thought he beat Kermit Cintron, and it was in Chicago. And Teddy Atlas thought Granados beat Kermit Cintron as well. I thought Adrian Granados beat Kermit Cintron. He didn't get the decision. Tonight, same thing with Sims. Although I will say Sims didn't. I thought Granados had a better performance in his fight than Sims did. Sims left it very, very close. I'm not mad at Sims not getting the decision. He needed to get Oscar Duarte's respect a little earlier, and he needed to make those early rounds, and he did not do it, and it cost him this fight. But at least, right? Because let me go back. Because at least the scorecards in this fight were somewhat fair. Like, I think it was like 115, 113. Like, they were close scorecards. And thank you for the correction, David. Thank you for the correction. Kermit Cintron is not Mexican. He is Puerto Rican. So BT exposed, exposed. But what I'm saying is they're in their hometown. They're not getting these decisions in their hometown. So there's not always home cooking in boxing. But I thought Duarte was able to, be the effective aggressor enough in for the judges to give him the fight, and that's what happened. So he beats Kenneth Sims, and now he gets close to a big fight. Now, will Duarte get a fight with Gary Anton Russell? I don't know, man. I'm really intrigued to see what PBC is going to do with Gary Anton Russell, because they have a couple of options. Duarte is one of like 4 options for them. Now, obviously, the number 1 option is going to be Gary Anton Russell potentially taking on one of the champions like Richard Hitchens, Subra Matias, or Teofimo Lopez. Okay? If they can't get that done, then the next option could be he could fight the interim champion, Alessandro Rigonici or something like that. And he's from Italy. I don't really know a lot about him, but I looked at his box rec a couple days ago or recently whenever he won. And he's like a feather-fisted Italian, so that's, it is what it is. And then you have Andy Hiroka, who's a regular champion, who really, that's how I really want to see Gary fight, because Andy Hiroka, he's probably one of the better fighters. He's one of the best fighters in Japan above, the featherweight limit, because, Japan doesn't have a lot of top guys above featherweight. He's at 140. He's had some good wins against guys like Barroso and these kind of guys, and I want to see him get his shot in a big fight, but he's not getting his shot. And now with Duarte being the mandatory, the WBA might order. I can see a scenario where the WBA maybe orders Duarte to fight Andy Hiroka. That'd be a good fight. Or Dwarte against the Italian. I'm not sure what kind of fight that would be, but the Italian doesn't have a high knockout ratio, and European fighters have a certain style, so I have to watch him fight for myself. But you know, he's in the mix. So, yeah. Kyoto says Hiroka is not even the regular champion. Japan won't sanction the interim titles. Hiroka has no title. He is simply the ordered fighter. Why won't Japan sanction the interim title? Don't make no sense. The WBA is nasty. Not only has Hiroka gotten this fight, not gotten this fight as soon as he was ordered, they made an interim title fight and a final eliminator. Yeah, yeah, that's WBA. Like every sanctioning body has their bullshit, but in my experience and from because I've never dealt with anybody from the IBF like in person, but I've met like Mauricio Sulaiman, I've met Paco Valcarcel, I've met people from the WBC, WBO, and WBA, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, the sanctioning body that is the most corrupt out of all of them, without a shadow of a doubt, is the WBA. You know, that's why that one time when I went to the convention, I had to press Gilberto Mendoza about rankings on camera. He didn't like that, but I did it. You know, they always cause confusion. Henry Vault says, I'm really puzzled why people are saying these fights are close. Some people have one way, the other. I mean, this whole week, starting with the Ken Shiro fight, like, you know, I thought Ken Shiro beat Sandoval by like a round. I thought it was a close fight, but I thought he won. But, you know, a lot of people thought that Sandoval won, and they gave it to Sandoval in Japan. Now you had this fight. So it's just been one of them weeks in boxing. You get those weeks in boxing sometimes where all the big fights are close. You know, I'll tell you this though. I really feel bad for Kenneth Sims Jr. because I feel like Kenneth Sims Jr. And I've been following him for like 4 or 5 years now. He's a really good fighter, and he's not one of these guys like he don't got like he's with Golden Boy, but he's not like a Golden Boy priority. Like he don't got a ton of money behind him like that. He had to win 9 fights to get an eliminator. Think about that. He had to win 9. So I think his last love, if I'm not mistaken, I think he lost to Montana Love on Showbox many years ago, and a lot of people thought he won that fight. But after the Montana Love loss, he's had to win 9 straight fights just to get to an eliminator, not even to a title shot, to an eliminator, and he gets the fight in his hometown, and he doesn't, you know, get the decision. So honestly, I don't think that Kenneth Sims is ever gonna get a chance again. I hope he does because he's a good fighter and he's an honest fighter and he's he's really good. He's a really good fighter. But I just think that Kenneth Sims Jr. should I'd like to see a rematch. I feel like that fight was so close. There should be a rematch. Do it in Chicago again or do it in Mexico. I feel like both fights on this card, the main and co-main, should just both do rematches. Do 2 rematches. I know that won't happen, but this fight was that close. I think it warrants a rematch. I want to see a more definitive outcome, but I know that's not how boxing works. The Montana Love fight was a draw. There you go again. Exposed times 2. Could have swore he lost to. Who did he lose to then? Who did he lose to? Let me see. I gotta go refresh my memory. Who did Kenneth Simmons? I know he lost to somebody. Maybe it was it maybe Samuel Taya? Tsunami Samuel Taya maybe? Let me see. Who did Kenneth Sims lose to before he lost to before this win streak started? He lost to I was right. He lost to Tsunami Samuel Taya, R.I.P. True Warrior. But yeah. Sims can't punch. If he could, he would be like he's got an average punching power at best. I don't think he's pillow fisted. You know what I think Kenneth Sims Jr.'s biggest downfall is? It's actually not his power. It's more so that like he punches at the same speed. So when he throws his punches, they all come at the same rhythm. They all come at the same speed. And actually, that's why I feel like Oscar Duarte was able to win some of those early rounds, because after about a round and a half of seeing what Kenneth Sims is bringing to the table, he's not really changing the speed of the punches, the angle of the punches, nothing, the cadence, his rhythm, nothing. So Duarte is able to pick up on that and march down on him and just get to what he wanted to do on the inside. I feel like if he could change his cadence and his rhythm a little bit better, he probably would hurt a guy like Duarte a little more. But that's just my opinion. Sims got some of the most skills I've seen in the division. He's a very good fighter. Listen. That's a very good win for Oscar Duarte. Another thing about Kenneth Sims Jr. is that I'm not mad at him for sitting in the pocket. I'm okay with him sitting in the pocket. It makes for better fights. But a guy with his skill set probably should move a little more, which is funny because we get on here every week and we complain about guys like Shakur and Devin that probably do too much moving. But for the skill set he has, for him to best win the fights, it'd probably be to go ahead and move around a little more. But that's just my opinion. Duarte can't beat any of the champs at 140. Let's talk about that. Duarte versus the other champs at 40. Now, we know he's probably going to fight. If he does get a title shot, it'll be for the WBA. So we're looking at Gary Anton Russell. But let's just say he could get a fight against all the champions. Who would he have the best chance against, right? So I'll tell you this right now. I think Subriel Matias and him will be a really good fight. But I think Matias would stop him. Teofimo Lopez is an interesting fight. I think Teofimo Lopez should beat him, and I think Teofimo Lopez probably would beat him by decision. He wouldn't knock him out, but I think he would beat him by decision. I would go with You know what? I think the most beatable guy for him, even though I think this guy could absolutely wash him. I think styles make fights, and we've seen in the past Regis Hitchens, when he fought a guy kind of similar to Duarte with what's his name, Lemos. He had a lot of problems in that fight. So I'm not saying that I'd pick him to win, but I think his best chance would be against Hitchens. I see a lot of you guys saying Matias. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think he'd beat Matias. Matias. So Duarte would fight Matias in a firefight? Nah, man, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. I'm sorry. I mean, he could. He can punch. I'm not saying he don't got a chance, but I would say Matias beats him. Justin Todd says, "Feed the streets, BT." That's what we gotta do, man. Gotta feed the streets. Gotta do more of these lives. I'm starting my interviews back up tomorrow. I got an interview tomorrow. It'll be out in a couple days after tomorrow, but I got an interview tomorrow. I don't want to say who it is, but it'll be out in a couple days after tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. Rocky Austin, good to see you in the chat. He says, I see Golden Boy making Regis versus Oscar Duarte next. That's an interesting fight. I mean, Regis is going to get stopped. I think if he fights Duarte at this point, he's going to get stopped. Duarte, Regis could barely take the punches from Jojo Diaz. Straight up, bro. He could barely handle the punches of what was being dished out to him from good old Jojo Diaz. If Dwarte hit him with one of them big old clubbing overhand rights or something like that, yo, he's getting sent to the gulag, and I don't want to see that for Regis Prograis because he's been one of America's true fighters, and I love him as a fighter. He's a great person, and just do the JoJo rematch. It's a really good fight. Everybody enjoyed it. Do it again. And by the way, shout out to my main man Jazz 11. I forgot to acknowledge your super chat. He said, much love as always, and good to see you, Jazz. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you to all 60 of you guys here. Listen, guys, make sure you listen. There's 60 of y'all here. Smash that like button. Get that shit up to like 45. Get it to 50. Get it to 70,000 likes. All right, so that these boxing fans can get this world-class boxing talk. And let me know too. Let me know what city, what state, what continent you guys are watching from. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me see. It is worth noting too, guys. I don't know if you guys saw, but Emiliano Vargas was on Twitter and he said that he would be open to fighting either Jojo or Prograis. He really enjoyed the fight and he would like to share the ring with one of those warriors. So what do you guys think about that fight? Let's just say Emiliano Vargas versus Regis Prograis. What do you guys think about that? I feel like, you know what? If Regis is gonna keep fighting, I don't want to see Regis fight Duarte. I don't want to see Regis fight Ryan Garcia. I would rather see Regis fight a guy like Emiliano Vargas, because I feel like if Prograis were to somehow knock him out or beat him, that puts Prograis back on the map and would actually give him a chance to chase his world championship dreams. And for Vargas, he needs a fighter like Prograis, a guy that's been world champion, has a name, has a profile. Why not? I think right now, obviously, Regis Prograis reflexes have slowed down a lot, so you favor Vargas in that fight. But Vargas has leaky defense himself, so if Prograis was able to catch him with something, you never know. Crazier things happen in boxing. But what do you guys think? You guys said Emiliano Vargas kills Regis. You think so? 954 checking in. Shout out to you. Yes, sir. We got Tampa in the building. Shout out to Tampa. Rico P. Vargas knocks Regis slap out. No, that's a sacrifice. Y'all don't want to see that. I'm from Chicago. I went to tonight's boxing. Great show. This is my first boxing match. I love it. Well, shout out to you, Julius. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And listen, shout out to Chicago. Like I said, one of my favorite cities in America. I don't got no family in Chicago. I got no reason to be biased for Chicago. I just genuinely fuck with Chicago and Chicago people. It's a great place, and it has so much culture and history, and it's just one of those. It's one of those cities you got to go to in America, especially in the summertime. Hopefully, more fights go back there. I want to give Golden Boy Promotions some credit, guys, because I feel like Golden Boy Promotions over the last 5 years, I feel like Golden Boy Promotions has consistently been the fourth, like of the big four companies in boxing. I feel like Golden Boy has been number four. They've been the worst out of the bunch, in terms of their stable, in terms of the cards they put on, in terms of everything. Like they've been the worst. But I would say this year and last year, they put together some really great fight cards, and I think this card, I would say in the last, I don't know, 2-3 years, this is probably the best Golden Boy card they put on as far as big time boxing. I know they've had some good shows. They have good shows like on those Thursday night fight cards, but like most people don't watch those shows. People were tuned in tonight and they watched this card and it delivered on all fronts. So I want to give a lot of credit to the Golden Boy staff, Oscar De La Hoya, I guess Rick Glazer, friend of the program, Rick Glazer, Oscar De La Hoya, Eric Gomez, the lovely Christina Ramirez, everyone at Golden Boy. They did a great job tonight. Great show. The problem is that taxes are so high here in Chicago. Yeah. So that's what it is, man. But I don't know if that's really like a sticking point, right? Because if you think about it, a lot of shows get held in New York City, right? And New York has high taxes. The state of Florida doesn't have any state taxes, and there's not a bunch of shows in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. There's not a bunch of shows in Tampa, so I don't really know why there's not shows in Chicago, because even there's some states that are big boxing markets that don't have state taxes and they don't get shows. So yeah, it don't make no sense. Fulgham versus Melakuziev was the fight of the year for me. Yeah, see, that's another one. Fulgham Melakuziev. This fight right here, these two fights tonight with Sims, Dwarte, Prograis, and Diaz, and then last August, Boachuk and Virgil Ortiz. I mean, Golden Boy Promotions is stepping the game up. I like what I'm seeing from them. Golden Boy Promotions, keep up the good work. I think right now, Golden Boy Promotions is definitely better than Matchroom as far as shows and the shows in America and these kind of things. I think so. I think they're a little bit ahead of Matchroom right now, but that's just my opinion. Julius Armstrong says Golden Boy is better than PBC in Top Rank. Well, maybe PBC, but they ain't better than Top Rank. This year but you know what? This year you could argue Golden Boy has been better than Top Rank. I might give you that one. But Matchroom, you might as well call it listen, almost all these companies is Riyadh season. Did I watch Molina versus Anas? No, I did not. I did not watch that. I started watching. Let me see what. I started watching the fight card when Joshua Edwards was fighting. So he was probably before that. Regis is a gatekeeper right now. Yeah, he's reached that stage of his career. If he keeps boxing, that's always going to be until he wins like a big fight. And judging by his reflexes, I don't know if he can win a big fight, because he couldn't even take the punches of Jojo like that. Matchroom has been in the gutter without Bam. Yeah, it is what it is, man. Matchroom seen better days. But yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on the card. I mean, you guys can keep giving your thoughts. That's Joshua Edwards. Not a whole lot to say about him. He knocked out a can. Tristan Calcaruth, he called out Jake Paul, so that was cool, I guess. He called out Jake Paul. He's trying to get some. He wants to fight Zordo. He wants to fight these guys. I'm not really sure how far he is from really being in contention for anything. I just know that he's been on a lot of these shows, and he switched trainers. He's being trained by Ismail Salas now, so we'll see what comes to him. But all in all, a good show. I can't really say much more than what I've been saying. Um, how many more fights for Edwards to get in the mix? Well, what I'm gonna say tonight is probably like his what? He can't have no more than 5 fights. So let me see. Let me go check his record. I'm pretty sure he's got like 4 or 5 fights. So he's definitely like at least 7 to 10 fights from really being in anything. They're gonna because you can expect about 3 or 4 more fights like this tonight. Then they might give him a little journeyman after that. Couple journeyman guys. Then after that, gatekeeper. Then after that, a fringe top 20 guy. Then a top 15 guy. Then a top they're gonna take their time. Joshua Edwards was an Olympian. He's an American Olympic heavyweight. So they're gonna be extra cautious, and they're gonna be on their p's and q's a little more with Joshua Edwards, because if they get this right, if they go ahead and they somehow, if Golden One Promotions, let's just say they're right. Let's say Joshua Edwards is the next American heavyweight champion. If they get his development right and he does become the next American heavyweight champion, that's a lot of money. So they're gonna be extra careful, or at least they should be. I'm starting to really get my feet wet in the boxing advisory space. There's a couple fighters I work with, so who will remain nameless, but so I'm always thinking about these fighters like from a managerial and advisory standpoint. Joshua Edwards is gonna need time. Oh, so I'm gonna get off topic a bit. You guys can continue to ask me about Dwarte and Sims and Prograis and Jojo Diaz. Smash the like button, super chat, do all that good stuff. But I kind of wanted to veer off a little bit from that for a second, because um, there was an interesting fight that apparently it got made. It was reported today on Twitter via Tay Jones. Shout out to Tay Jones, friend of the show, friend of the channel. Um, Tay Jones, he's connected with a lot of fighters in the Atlanta area, and he reported that apparently one of Atlanta's very own, Najee Lopez, is going to be fighting Artur Beterbiev. So that's the big rumor going on in boxing today, and if that's true, I know a lot of people are upset that the Bivol Beterbiev trilogy fight isn't happening. I'm not one of those people. I personally, I don't give a rat's ass about Bivol Beterbiev 3. And the funny thing is, Turkey Outlaw Sheik, who I disagree with a lot, we actually agree here. Like, Turkey doesn't even give a damn about Beterbiev Bivol 3. I'm happy the fights happened. At least you give them the fights, right? But in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I don't think either fight really produced anything special. Thought it was a lot of your turn, my turn. So for me personally, I'm happy that I don't gotta see the third installment of the Russian AIBA World Championships. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not seeing the third fight. I'm actually more intrigued by Beterbiev fighting Najee Lopez. Now, is it a possibility that this kid Najee Lopez goes and gets the brakes beaten off of him by Beterbiev because he's just not ready? Yes, because he's had some tough fights on Pro Box against guys like Marcos Escudero, and there was another black dude he fought whose name I can't remember right now. But he's had some tough fights where he didn't look so great, and he had to really grind out those wins. But you know what? Like I've said for Jintazaki, like I said for Devin Haney, like I've said for even Mario Barrios, I cannot make disparaging remarks or talk badly about fighters who step up to the plate and take tough fights and go to the smoke. So look, really and truthfully, if I was Najee Lopez's advisor, he wouldn't be taking this fight, because I think it's too early for a Beterbiev fight for him, in my opinion. But clearly, his handlers, Pro Box, Gary Jonas, his coach Mark Ferre, clearly they believe in his talent. And I know how talented Najee is, because mind you, before Najee Lopez was signed to Pro Box, before Najee Lopez even went pro, before COVID even happened, I knew who Najee Lopez was, because back in 2019, he came to South Florida, and he came to Stacey McKinley's gym, and he sparred a couple heavyweights who will remain nameless. I won't say the names, but he did really good, and he really stood out that day in the gym. And I've always known he's a top talent since then, and I've always had high hopes for him. So it could be premature, I don't know, but they're going to the smoke. And I don't really think that I don't think the only thing that could be a drawback for Najee is that Beterbiev beats him to the point where he's never the same again. That's the only negative side of this if the fight is that one sided. But if he goes in there and he gives a good fight and he loses, no one's gonna hold it up against him. And I'm sure with his speed and his range and his combinations, I'm sure he's gonna have some moments in the fight. So his stock will go up because he's gonna have some moments in the fight. And God, if he wins the fight, I'm telling you right now, if he wins the fight, oh my God, if Nigel Lopez beats Beterbiev, all of a sudden you're talking about a star overnight, a fighter that stock shoots to the roof. So to me, it's a more intriguing fight than Bivol. I've seen Bivol versus Beterbiev 2 times. They fought 24 rounds and they didn't produce like it was a good fight. They were great fights in terms of boxing IQ and I guess the subtleties of boxing and maneuvering and positioning and these kind of things. But in terms of producing them special moments in the ring, that you expect from a fight of that caliber, between two fighters of that caliber, it didn't really give us many of those. It was a lot of your turn, my turn. That's what it was. So I'm not really too bothered about it. Give me this fight. I'm actually okay with it. I love when young fighters get big opportunities and step up to the plate. I know a fighter, and he watched this channel. He might be watching this live right now. But I know a fighter who called me the other day, and he said, "BT, I got offered this fight versus such and such, who's a big name, and I got offered to fight on the Canelo Crawford card. What do you think? Should I take it?" And so I told him I think he should take the fight. I think he should take the fight because I feel like he could win that fight. I'm not gonna say who it is and who it's against, but I told these young fighters, I told the young fighter, I feel you could win the fight, and even if you lose, as long as you go in there and you look good and you fight how you normally fight, your stock will go up. So to me, it's not a lose. And if you win, you're gonna be a star and have a whole country of fans on your side now that you beat this guy. So, I hope this fighter I'm talking about, who I'm not gonna say, I hope he steps up to the plate like Nigel Lopez steps up to the plate. Cause I love it. I love it when young fighters step up to the plate. Love it. Um, Despite the fact that I'm not impressed with Nigel Lopez, I do give him a lot of credit and respect. Yeah, you have to. You have to. 14 fights fighting Artur Beterbiev. Come on. I mean, it's very commendable. Nigel Lopez was Belanga's sparring partner. He's not ready for Beterbiev. Nigel Lopez is better than Edgar Berlanga. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Nigel Lopez is a better fighter than Edgar Berlanga. Don't use that against him to say that's why he can't be Beterbiev. He's a better fighter than Berlanga. I'll tell you this right now too. I saw Berlanga fight like maybe 7 fights into his career. So if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you 5 years ago Nigel Lopez is better than Edgar Berlanga. So it's not like a new thought. I've always thought that. Don't use that against him. How is Najee gonna be Beterbiev though? Marcus Escudero, I thought the, his best path to victory from without looking at like the reach or anything like that. I'm pretty sure he's got longer arms than Beterbiev, so he's gonna have to box a disciplined fight, and he's gonna have to make Beterbiev pay when he comes inside, because Beterbiev is gonna come inside. So he's gonna have to make him pay. Everybody is better than Berlanga, honestly. Damn, no love, no love for the Puerto Rican assassin. Casino Light Press says, I just interviewed Najee today. Shout out to you. Hopefully I get a chance to interview Najee today. I haven't interviewed Najee in a long time, years now, and I feel like I need to go ahead and do that before this big fight. I've been wanting to interview Najee for a while. It just hasn't happened. BT, I need to let you know about the boxing business in Japan. There is an MMA promotion in Japan that do over 500K in pay-per-view sales. The network who hosts this said they are using the profits to go into boxing. Amazing. So I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind because there's a couple Japanese. Well, there's one Japanese fighter in particular I might be working with soon. I'm working with him, but nothing's really happened yet. So I'll keep that in mind. Um, David says, I've actually quit betting on boxing recently. Good for you, man. You shouldn't. I don't bet on boxing at all. And there's fights where I could make loads of money, but I don't bet on boxing. I'm trying to keep my love for this sport as pure as possible. It's one of the only pure loves I have in this life is boxing. If I start betting on it, that's not pure no more. The fix was in against Kenshiro. One judge gave him 2 rounds. It's insane. Well, look, man. Reversely, you said it, not me. I thought Sandoval boxed a good fight. I thought he boxed a disciplined fight. Um, I thought Kenshiro won. I thought Kenshiro won the first round. He won the second round. He scored a knockdown, and then he swept the championship rounds. I thought that's more than enough for a win. If you get a 10-8 round, and then you win 2 rounds, and then you win 3 rounds, that's more than enough for a win. And they didn't give it to him. So such is life. You can't cry over spilled milk. He's still a great fighter, no matter what anybody on Twitter tells me. Because as soon as he lost, everyone was like, see, BZ, I told you about Ken Shaw. I'm like, you didn't tell me anything. He lost split decision. He's still a great fighter. He's still one of the best fighters of his era. And truth be told, even with him losing this fight to Ricardo Sandoval, his resume is so good and he's accomplished so much, you could still probably leave him on the pound list. I know that won't happen, but he should be on the pound list if it's just about accomplishments. Shout out to my boy Jairo Galvez. He says, do you think Fed Pacheco could beat Joshua Evers right now? Jairo, it's really hard to gauge that fight as far as because they both have fought the same type of opposition. They both fought like cans. But what I will say from what I know about both of them is that Joshua Edwards fought at a much higher level as an amateur and succeeded at a much higher level as an amateur than Fed Pacheco. I think Fed Pacheco is more of a project than Edwards. Edwards, I feel like, will get into contention quicker than Pacheco. As to where I feel with Pacheco, with him, you might need to go the Jaime Munguia route and give him like 25, 30 fights before you even think about anything, because there's just a lot of development that needs to be had with him, in my opinion. Kenshiro wants to rematch. I think he can return in better form. Well, look, if history tells us anything about Kenshiro in his career, he's never. First of all, not only has he never lost a rematch, but I would say that 2 of his 3 best performances of his career came in rematches. The Yabuki rematch and the Geigen Lopez rematch. These are 2 of the best performances of his career. So, yeah, I think you adjust a couple things. You get Kenshiro back to more of his boxing and stop making him go to war. That'll be all right. Rico P says, BT, you never gave us an update on your boy Lorenzo Medina. Yeah, shout out to Lorenzo. He had a layoff. He had an injury and some things he was dealing with outside the ring. But he just fought about 2 weeks ago. About a week or 2 weeks ago, he fought at the Hard Rock in South Florida and he won. So he's like 13-0 now. So should be better things in store for Lorenzo Medina coming soon. The Falling Star says, which Japanese fighters do you want to get the opportunity in that supposedly Saudi Japan versus the world card in December? Now, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, Falling Star. I don't really want to see Japanese fighters have to go to Saudi. I feel like the Saudi boxing market is gonna interfere with all the great things going on in Japanese boxing. I feel like things are great how they are in Japan. Japan is probably one of the only self-sufficient boxing markets in the world right now. So I don't think guys need to go to Saudi. That's my opinion. But to answer your question, I would like to see. I'll give you just one name. I'll give you one name I want to see on the card. I want to see Jin Sasaki get on the card because I feel like Jin is an exciting fighter. I still think he's one of the better welterweights out there, and he's the kind of fighter that Turkey would like, because Turkey says he doesn't like Tom and Jerry fights. Jin Sasaki don't run away from nothing. He doesn't know how to run away from nothing. So Jin, Yuta Sakai, Aoi Yokoyama, them kind of fighters. I'll say those are a couple guys. Word has it is that Jin Sasaki is coming back this year. He is. I can confirm that is true. That is 100% true. The first time I heard that Japanese guy at the Ring Magazine put on the pound list just to see him lose. That's what made me upset about it, is that he really didn't, in my opinion, I don't think he lost the fight, but for a lot of people, they just found out who he was and he loses that fight, so it pissed me off. That's pissed me off about it. They should do the rematch. I want to see I'll say this. I've always graded Ricardo Sandoval highly. Go back and check my I made one video about Ricardo Sandoval before the Jin Sasaki fight was ever announced. And I made it back in December of last year. I've been grading Ricardo Sandoval highly as a fighter. Kenshiro Taraji has never lost a rematch, and he normally destroys opponents in rematches.
his best performances are in rematches. I feel like if they fight in a rematch, if Ricardo Sandoval beats the brakes off Jin or just beats Jin again in a rematch, that would really even go further to how great Ricardo Sandoval is. I want to see a rematch. I think for sure. The Nobody 92 says, BT, what are your thoughts on the Miami Marlins winning the series against the Yankees this weekend? Well, first and foremost, shout out to the Miami Marlins, the best team in baseball over the last 2 months. I really do believe that they're gonna go to the wild card, and I'm not surprised actually. I actually expected to my expectation going into that series was that the Marlins were gonna sweep the Yankees because I don't think the Yankees are that great, and I think that we play very clean baseball. Even in our losses, we play very clean baseball. We don't make a lot of mistakes. We're a very fundamentally sound team. So I'm not shocked at all that we have a chance to sweep the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees are actually. I actually don't think the Yankees are a better team than the Marlins. As crazy as that sounds, but that's just my opinion. I think the Marlins will be in the playoffs this year. They're gonna get into one of the wild card spots and make some noise. So yeah, I'm really happy. Benjamin Bryant says, I would love to see a world boxing tournament with the best from each country, like how they got in the Olympics, but in the pros. That'd be a lot of fun. I think certain countries wouldn't have participants because some countries just have smaller people. It's like you wouldn't see like there would be no Japanese like heavyweights. You know, there wouldn't be Japanese heavyweights. But yeah, I think in the right weight class, that could work for sure. BT, why haven't you made a video about Kyosuke Takami winning the WBA world title against Eric Mini Pac-Man Rosa? Are you sure about that? You might want to go check the video archives. I have made a video about Kyosuke Takami winning the title against Eric Mini Pac-Man Rosa. It dropped, I think, earlier today or yesterday. I did make a video about it. I thought the fight was a mismatch going in. Eric Pac-Man Rosa, like, to me, was the weakest champion at light flyweight, so I wasn't, like, shocked when Takami beat the shit out of him. For me though, the jury's still out on Takami. I don't right now. I don't class him as highly as some other Japanese fighters. I think I gotta see how he does at flyweight when he moves up because he said he's gonna move up to flyweight because he can't make light flyweight no more. Let me see. I know I missed some comments. Make sure you guys keep them comments coming in. Gabe Rosado just called out Edgar Berlanga. Marv Nation wants to make that fight in Puerto Rico. Man, you know what? Make the fight happen. You know what? It's crazy. I can't believe I'm gonna sit here and say this. I think Gabe Rosado can beat Edgar Berlanga. It's crazy to say. He has taken a lot of punishment, so it's possible that Berlanga could just hit him with some big shots, and he starts bleeding right away. But I don't know what Berlanga no more, man. He really pissed me off with that last Shiraz fight. Dory Allen says, True School, would you want to see Hamza Shiraz versus Diego Pacheco? Oh, of course. Hamza Shiraz is coming off of a star-making performance. Diego Pacheco is a guy that I've been high on for a lot of years. He's a guy that I think will be world champion. Um, why not? I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they're about the same height. Like Shiraz and Pacheco about the same height, so it would be intriguing to see Pacheco fight a guy that he's not like significantly taller than where he's punching at eye level. Because the advantage that Pacheco enjoys over a lot of fighters is that pretty much he's a lot taller than them. Eric Eric Rosso is weaker than Pena. Two of the weakest champions have been dethroned. I don't know. No, okay. I think it's debatable. If he's weaker than Pena, but see, the thing is, I never really viewed Pena as a champion. In my mind, Connie Salas was the champion, and I didn't have any doubt that Connie Salas was going to beat the brakes off Pena. So Pena to me was never in the equation. He fought Selecki, who was around the same height. Was he the same height? Because I feel like I really feel you're probably right, but I feel like Pacheco might have been a little taller than Selecki. And in that fight, I remember he knocked him out with a body shot. So I guess if he fights Hamza, he'll go ahead and probably go to the body a lot more. And as Hyro, my good buddy Hyro likes to eloquently point out, Selecki was a 160 pounder. He fights Hamza. Hamza is a guy that yes, he came from 160, but we saw how strong he was in his last fight and how well he's filled out and how easily he made the weight. So it's a different type of a fight. Something I don't understand is why don't they have that fight with Najee Lopez Escudero on YouTube? It's like they want us to forget about that fight. It's the same reason why Miguel Cotto Promotions and It's the same reason why Miguel Cotto Promotions and Top Rank don't have the fight with they don't have Juanita Lopez's second profile on YouTube. I don't know if y'all know this, but Juanita Lopez, he's got a fight in Puerto Rico, which a lot of people believe he got a good decision in. And it's not it's nowhere on YouTube. It's nowhere on Google. He fought a guy named Malik Quiones, who's like a Puerto Rican amateur champion, and he got a split decision in that fight, and he got dropped in the first round, and they gave it to him, and a lot of people thought he lost that fight, but you can't find that fight nowhere on YouTube, nowhere on Google. So that happens a lot in boxing. Bruce Carrington lost to Suleiman Tagawa. Top Rank never uploaded the highlights. You know, that's just how boxing game goes. Back in the day, when I was covering boxing at the Heavyweight Factory, I don't know if you guys remember the fighter from Hawaii. There was a fighter from Hawaii named Logan Yoon. And Logan Yoon had won like 18 fights, something like that. But like none of his fights were on YouTube. And then they put him in the Golden Contract tournament against O'Hara Davies, and then O'Hara Davies beat the shit out of him. And then he disappeared from boxing altogether. So that's how the game goes. You know, whenever people have close fights and the promoters have a vested financial interest in them, they're not gonna put that out there. Even if the Japanese guy would have got the decision, that performance would have knocked him off the pound for pound list. Why though? I honestly don't think Ken Shiro should be off the pound for pound list even with the loss, because he lost a split decision. And he's still more accomplished than literally more than half the pound for pound list. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't. I've seen like Ken Shiro's accomplishments blow like 99% of boxing out of the water, because you can't find. There's probably like five fighters in the whole sport of boxing that have 13 world title defenses or more. Because I keep a list. I keep a list of guys active career world title defenses. I know the guys that have 13 or more besides Ken Shiro are Crawford, Canelo, Kazuto Ioka, I think Inoue, Chocolatito, and that might be it, because I'm not even sure Usyk has as many. I can't remember all the names, but I know like he was like 5th or 6th in boxing amongst active fighters in career world title defenses. So when you look at the longevity, right, and then when we look at the fighters he's beaten, and then mind you, like, look at the fights against Hirota Kiyoguchi, who was an undefeated prime world champion. He knocked him out and outclassed him in a pretty much perfect performance to unify the division at light flyweight. Then earlier this year, he fought Seigo Yuri Ikui, another younger guy, bigger in his prime. You know, yes, he was losing. Yes, he was getting his ass kicked, but it doesn't matter. He knocked his ass out in the 12th round. So to me, he's shown, not just for 1 year, not just for 2 years, but time and time again, that he is a great fighter, right? And the problem is that he just now became known to people because he got on the pound for pound list, and they think that he's a bum because he lost, but they don't realize that he's been at the world championship level for almost 10 years. So that's my opinion. But let me see. I missed some comments. Shout out to everybody here. MMA Boxing Addict says, true school, love listening to you, man. You got a real smart brain in this boxing game. Most of the time. I be saying some stupid shit sometimes, you know. But, you know, I try my best. Thank you, man. Devin Haney had one in Mexico. Had one what? Yeah, Christian and Billy need somebody gotta fight Christian and Billy. Christian and Billy been beating guys, and I don't like what boxing's doing to Christian and Billy. But, you know, with Canelo and Crawford and these guys, of course you're gonna screw with Christian and Billy for Canelo and Crawford. I'm not sure Hrgovic should be a favorite against Adelaide, let alone a minus 1,000 favorite. Hrgovic looked horrible against Joyce. Listen, I love Philip Hrgovic. I'm the president of the American Philip Hrgovic fan club. I wouldn't say 1,000. I think is probably too much, but I would say he's a minus 800. But Adelaide is not that good. He can punch, right? He can punch, but I'll tell you this right now, guys. I know Hrgovic lost to Dubois, and I know Hrgovic lost to Dubois, so you know it's fair to say right now that he's not going to be as good as I hope he'd be. But yo, if he loses to David Adelaide, and Philip is my guy, like I know him in real life, I will personally tell him this myself. Like, yo, like he is a hype job if he can't beat David Adelaide. David Adelaide is a European level heavyweight. He's not a world level guy. If there was ever a fight, and I hate saying this because every time I say this, Hergovich comes out here and has one of these sluggish performances. If he don't have a sensation, I'm not even saying like a win. Like it's not. It's, for me in this fight, it's not enough to just grind it out and win. He cannot be having the joys or the Zhang type performances this fight. He needs something sensational, a knockout. You know, he should definitely be the favorite against Adelaide, but I wouldn't say he should be 1,000. I say he's like minus 800. Did I watch the fight with Joyce? Yeah, I watched all of it. He's one of my favorite. I know him. That's my guy. Of course, I watched the fight with Joyce. He had to really pull it out there at the end. That's what I'm saying. Like, but again, even the washed up Joe Joyce is better than David. Bro, David Adelaide is not that good. David Adelaide is not like he's a big puncher on the European level. He's not a big puncher on the world level. So that's what I'm saying. If Hergovich goes out there and gets his ass waxed by Adelaide, I'm gonna have a lot of negative things to come on here and say. You know. I put my money on Adelaide. Hey, I'm not knocking it. If you're going off of what he's shown in his last couple of fights, you should have some confidence in Adelaide. Adelaide can crack a little bit. Hergovich is sluggish. Hergovich sometimes abandons his jab. I can see why, but he's a European level heavyweight, so I'm gonna say Hergovich wins. Let's be real. The light flyweight, them with the flyweight and the low weight class ain't got killers like that. Not only are you wrong about that, not only do they have killers, they actually fight each other. So you're wrong on all counts, but that's my, to each his own. Tell Angelo to make the fight with Carrington right now. It's an easy fight. Oh, we love that fight. I hope, and we want that fight actually. That's a fight that we love, and I'm not gonna sit here and talk trash about Shushu because I like him, but all I'll do is simply make an observation, or I won't make an observation. I'll challenge you guys to go do some research. Go watch every Bruce Carrington interview, and you tell me when he mentions the champions, who does he mention the least? And then when you have your answer, let me know. BT, what are your thoughts on Connie Salas? Does Kensho deserve the hate for not washing him? My thoughts on Connie Salas is that he's one of the best fighters at light flyweight, and no, Connie Salas could beat Takami. Everyone's talking about how great Takami is, bro. Connie Salas might knock Takami out the ring. Connie Salas is a problem for anyone in the division. So no, he shouldn't get hate for that. Connie Salas is an amazing fighter. Do I ever think Sandy Alcantara will regain his old self back again? No, I don't think he'll ever become the 2022 Cy Young Award Sandy, but I do think that he can still be, a good middle of the rotation pitcher, something like that. Good veteran. Next Gen Combat says, I'm not gonna lie, out of all the featherweight champions, I think Shushu has the best chance with Leo. Man, you trying to get, I like Shushu. I don't want to talk trash. You trying to get him hurt. Like, all of you guys who keep saying it, y'all trying to get Shushu hurt out here. I'm telling you, I'm trying to warn you guys. I try to warn you, like, and I don't want to keep bringing up Venado, and I know Angelo didn't knock out Kameda or whatever, but like, look, I'm giving you guys fair warning. Now, when I talk about these other fighters, it's one thing because I'm not part of the team. I'm telling y'all right now, if Shushu fight Angelo, I promise you it's gonna be very bad for him. He better go fight anybody else but Angelo. But BT, apparently Conor Salas is a bum, and that makes Ken Shirt an even bigger bum. Ken is so much a bum that he shouldn't be in pound for pound. How is Carlos Connie Salas a bum? I don't understand how Carlos Connie Salas is a bum. How is he a bum? He just became a world champion last night. How is he a bum? If I'm not mistaken, didn't Connie Salas win a WBA title? Like, isn't he a 2-time champion? Or am I wrong? Oh no, okay, never mind. No, we don't count that. He had a regular title, so no, he wasn't the actual champion. So yeah, okay, so He won his first world title last night. So Kenshiro beat him in a close fight that was controversial, and he went on to become world champion. How was that guy a bum? I used to put Shushu highly, but I think he got exposed by Hayta. Leo and Espinosa Cooks. Now look, I'm not gonna say what he told me, right? I'm not gonna say what he told me. All I'm gonna say is this. About a year and some change ago, I remember I was talking to Angelo's dad, Miguel Leo, the great trainer, one of the best trainers in boxing, and people don't even realize how great of a boxing mind that man is. He's so intelligent when it comes to boxing. He told me a year ago, before Shushu fought, well before Shushu fought Sagawa, he said, "BT, what do you think about Carrington?" And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, no, Bruce Carrington's pretty good. He's good." And he's like, "No, BT, no." He told me a bunch of his flaws, which I won't say on camera because we're gonna. I think we are gonna fight him in the next year or so. I think that fight is gonna happen in the next year or so, and so I don't want to say it out here because I never know who's watching these things. But I would love to see that fight because I'll tell you right now, we already got Shushu worked out, and we've had him worked out for over a year. So if I get signed, may God be with him. You guys should call him out, and Leo can get the WBC title, and it's an easy fight for Leo. Well, right now he's not ranked in the IBF. He's not ranked in the IBF, and he doesn't have a world title. And more than likely, if I had to take a guess, I'm pretty sure Angelo's next fight is going to be a voluntary defense because he just fought a mandatory fight. So unless he gets the big Espinoza fight or someone like that, he's probably going to get a voluntary defense next. Kameda is better than anyone Shushu has ever fought. This is very true. By quite a lot as well. By quite a lot. Why are you so sure that Andy beats Gary? Why is he so inactive and fights nobody? I don't want the belts in Japan, man. I just think, look, Gary could obviously beat Andy because Gary's a very good fighter, but Gary, he throws a lot of punches, but again, they're all at the same speed. And I just think with Hiroka's reach and his precision, it's a bad matchup for Gary. I don't think Gary's gonna punch hard enough to keep Hiroka off of him, and Hiroka's gonna punch in between those shots and hurt Gary. That's what I think. But it's a good fight. It's a very good fight. It'd be good for the sport if it happened. Why doesn't he get the fights? Well, number one, I don't think that it's my opinion. I don't think Ohashi Promotions and Mr. Honda, I don't think they put as much money into Andy Hiroka as they do other fighters. And there's many reasons why that could be. Maybe it's because he doesn't look like a regular Japanese fighter. I don't know. They have less control over what happens in these weight classes because, at light, flyweight, super flyweight, them weight classes, Mr. Honda, Tekken Promotions, they run shit down there. But 140, these American weight classes, they don't run shit like that. So they got to wait, and they got to wait their turn. So that's what I think. Sebastian says, Kenshiro, the amazing boy Taraji, exposed. He got exposed as a great fighter. He's still a great fighter. BT, is Carmel Moten the next Tank? Well, look, I don't know if you want him to be the next Tank right now. Tank has a lot of question marks. I don't know if you want him to be the next Tank. What I can tell you about Carmel is he's a very talented fighter. I've been following him since 2022 when he was in the amateurs. I like Carmel. I don't know what to make of him yet. He's a very dynamic fighter. I think he's probably going to settle in at about 135, 130-ish, maybe 140. He's filling out real quickly. So I don't know, but I don't want, to be honest with you, I don't want him to be the next Tank. I don't want him to be matched like Tank. I don't want that in boxing again. It's too soon. BT, is Angelo Leo signed to Top Rank? Right now, as it stands, from what I know, he's not signed to anybody. He's actually a free agent, so that's the next step. Because from my understanding, the Pro Box fight was the last fight on his deal, so he can go negotiate with one of those two. Now people are calling Kensho overrated when he couldn't watch Sandoval. They say, is that the kid who they say is pound for pound? Yeah. And I would say even with the loss, he's still pound for pound. They got Canelo on the list, and he got like 4 or 5 losses. I know Kensho hasn't fought, the guys that Canelo's fought, But I'll tell you this: Canelo has never knocked out anybody in their prime. Anybody who was actually a top A-level fighter in their prime. Kensho knocked out Kiyoguchi and he knocked out Yuri Akui, and one of those guys was A-level. And there and Yuri Akui's and Seigo Yuri Akui's case, he was bigger than Kenshiro. So you know, it's very like arguing him as a pound for pound fighter is actually one of the easiest things to do in boxing. The only problem is that a lot of boxing fans who think they know about boxing, they watch one fight and they think that they know a fighter's career, and they don't even know the whole picture. But yo, Ricardo Sandoval is a damn good fighter, guys. Like, if Ricardo Sandoval doesn't fight Ken Shiro, I'm hoping Ricardo Sandoval goes and fights Anthony Olas Kuwaga, and they do a unification fight, the Southern California unification fight. You know, you'd have LA versus Rialto. Do that fight, because you do that fight, and I think if they fight, I would actually favor Sandoval. I think Sandoval beats Olas Kuwaga, because Olas Kuwaga, he's good too, big puncher. But what I would say is that Sandoval's got more in his toolbox, I feel. BT, you always hyping these Japanese bones up like Sasaki, boy. Bye. Well, bye. Get the fuck out of here. Don't get mad at me because they come to fight, and Kenshiro, there's no hype with Kenshiro. What you mean hype? You know what's not hype? 13 career world title defenses, 2 division champion, 5-time world champion, lineal light flyweight champion. That's not hype. That's facts. Those are the facts. Knocking out people bigger than him. You guys, I had to sit here and have people tell me Devin Haney was pound for pound, right? And I was fair to Devin. Like when Devin was undisputed, even though I don't even like Devin like that, even though I don't even like Devin Haney like that, and I think Devin Haney is one of the most overrated fighters to ever put on a pair of boxing gloves, I still give Devin Haney respect because he was undisputed, right? But Devin made a whole career beating up smaller fighters, and the first time he fought a guy who was his size, he got fucking stomped by Ryan Garcia. Now, you talking about Ken Shiro, who at this point in his career, he's fighting bigger people. Ricardo Sandoval is bigger than Ken Shiro. Seigo Yuri Akui is bigger than Ken Shiro. Masamichi Ibuki is bigger than Ken Shiro. He's knocked out prime bigger guys than him. Caleb was in his prime when Canelo stopped him, BT. Yeah, but Caleb Plant can't even punch like that. Like, Caleb Plant is good, but like, nah, man. Canelo Alvarez never knocked out nobody as good as Seigo Yuri Akui or Kiyoguchi. And Caleb Plant, though, I'm a big Caleb Plant fan, but Caleb Plant, well, unfortunately, was overrated. He's proven to be, over the years, he's proven to be overrated. I like him, but he's proven to be overrated. It's because Carlos is a one-dimensional fighter. I don't think Shakur would lose a lot of rounds at 33 against someone like Carlos. Shakur just lost rounds to Williams Peta. What are you talking about? He lost to his Carlos Canizales. He lost plenty of rounds to he lost plenty of rounds to Williams Peta. What are you talking about? Against who, though? I just told you who. Hirota Kiyoguchi, who was undefeated, who was the Ring Magazine champion. He beat him. And the undefeated WBA champion beat him. Seigo Yuri Akui, WBA champion, bigger than Ken Shiro in his prime, beat him. You just don't know boxing. That's the problem with you guys. That's why I can't even talk about the lightweight categories, because y'all don't know anything. A lot of y'all. It wasn't a close fight, Harold, but he lost rounds. You're saying he wouldn't lose rounds. He lost like 3 or 4 rounds to Zepeda, and he literally got hurt by him. Plant, Saunders, and Kirkland weren't in their prime. Let me see. When was Caleb Plant's prime? When do you guys think Caleb Plant's prime was? Because let me see. Before Caleb Plant fought Canelo, he fought, what was it? Caleb Truax. He looked like dog shit in that fight. I remember that fight. He didn't look great against Caleb Truax. Before he fought Caleb Truax, he fought Mike Lee, which is my personal favorite Caleb Plant fight. I like that fight. And then he fought he fought Feigenboots, right? Fought Feigenboots. So I would say Caleb Plant's prime was Uzcategui and Feigenboots. After Feigenboots, he started looking like, not so great anymore. But shout out to all 51 of y'all rocking with me. Make sure you smash that like button. Definitely subscribe for new super chat, all that good stuff. Prime undefeated Trout wasn't dancing in that ring. I love how, bro. Austin Trout was overrated too. That's another one. That's another one. Like y'all bringing up Austin Trout. Like Austin Trout was like this amazing like A-level fighter. Like he was good. He was a good fighter, but I'm tired of Canelo Alvarez fans bringing up Austin Trout. Like he had one good win against Miguel Cotto, one good decent win against Miguel Cotto. That's it. And that wasn't even no like great version of Miguel Cotto. Let me go back and let me go back and refresh my memory to see if I'm hating or not. Let me see if I'm hating or not. Okay, I'm hating. I'm hating. It was Miguel Cotto coming off the Floyd Mayweather loss, so he fought well against Floyd Mayweather. I won't do that. Right? Cotto fought Mayweather. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So I'm hating. That was a good win, but for the most part, when Canelo Alvarez has fought guys, he hasn't stopped as many guys bigger than him in their prime as Kenshiro. Kenshiro went life and death with Olas Kuwaga, who had 5 fights and with little amateur experience. He also had to drop down a weight class he never fought before. Canelo Alvarez went life and death with fucking Larry Mosley. Not Shane Mosley, Larry Mosley. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the fight. Talking about, oh, Kenshiro. So you guys keep naming fighters that he went life and death with that went on to become world champions or were world champions. Canelo Alvarez went life and death with fucking Larry Mosley. Not Shane Mosley, Larry Mosley. Canelo has the deepest resume in boxing. That's another lie. You guys, that's another lie. That's another lie. Like, see now, y'all gonna start bringing back 2021 BT back out, talking this nonsense. Canelo Alvarez does not have the deepest resume in boxing. He's fought the most names, but that doesn't mean he has the deepest resume. Because you can fight the most names, it doesn't mean they were the best version of themselves when they fought him. Nah, man, I'm not trying to hear all that. He had the deep. People just be chatting. Yes, Canelo has one of the most overrated resumes in boxing. And guess what, guys? I don't have a final prediction yet. Right now, I would say if I had to make a prediction on Canelo and Crawford, I'm probably gonna say Canelo wins by decision. I don't think Crawford's gonna knock him out. Right? I don't think Crawford's gonna knock him out. I don't think Canelo's gonna knock him out either. I don't think, and I think Crawford is gonna get hit with a lot of body shots, and he's gonna circle the ring, and he's not gonna really come to win. That's what I think. We'll see. But like if I make that prediction and I get it right, and Canelo beats Crawford, I'm still not giving Canelo no credit because you're fighting a welterweight. BT, what's the next fight you're planning on traveling to? I have 0 plans to travel anywhere the rest of the year. I'm good. I'm good on traveling. I just want to not travel for a while because I'm burnt out over the last 2 years. So I'm just taking time. I'm enjoying my time with my family and stuff, and keeping the channel going, and just working on my health, working on my mental. But we'll see. BT, I'm not a subscriber of your channel. I want to know why you're always on the Japanese sack. See, you guys want me to like be respectful, and then you come talking crazy, and you want to bring that disrespectful side of me out. And then when I'm disrespectful, you're gonna say, "Oh, BT, you shouldn't have said that. You disrespected me. I can't believe it." So look, I'll answer your question, and I won't be disrespectful. All I do is just cover the Japanese fighters. That's all I do. All I do is cover these motherfuckers, bro. I don't think all of them are great. I don't think all of them are pound for pound. There's actually some that I think are not that good at all, that people think are great. So, nah, I just cover Japanese boxing. That's the answer to your question. I like how their fighters fight. They're normally action fighters. I like action fighters, but they're not all great. They got about 5 world champions, or 5 or 6 world champions in boxing right now. They had about 9 or 10 around this time last year. So they do their thing. They had the 4th most world champions in the history of boxing. Did you know that? Like, by the way, I missed a comment that I wanted to get to. Let me go back for a second. My man, where is he? Eric Corey says, shout out to True School Sports, man. I'm really glad I found your channel again. Apparently, he lost touch with my channel. because YouTube be hating on me. Shout out to you, champ. Good to see you in the chat. They just want reactions. They gonna get them. They gonna get them. I'm live. Listen, I haven't been live in a while. These lives are therapeutic. Sometimes I need to get my frustrations out on some of these stupid comments. Canelo wasn't a champion. He was a prospect. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not too knowledgeable on the Japanese fight, but I'm starting to watch now. Boy, they can fight. Any suggestions? Yeah, there's a lot of them. I would say, you got obviously the big three would be Inoue, Kenshiro Taraji, and Junta Nakatani. Though you can start with those three, but for prospects, guys that aren't champions yet, that have potential to be champions, you got Yuga Osaki. I like him a lot. You got Yuta Sakai. You got Aoi Yokoyama. You got Andy Hiroka, who's a contender at 140. You got Jin Sasaki, who just got knocked the fuck up by Brian Millman Jr., but he's a fun action fighter. He's got to correct a lot of things, but he's fun to watch. There's a lot. You got Kazuto Ioka, who's still in the game. He's been a champion before. Who else? You got Hayato Tsutsumi. You got Reito Tsutsumi. And the list goes on and on and on. There's a lot of talent coming from Japan. Shout out to everybody here. We're already like we're an hour and 21 minutes in, so we'll make it an even 90. And then I'll judge it in about 10 minutes. If the chat is still lit and y'all are still, give me great comments like these, I'll stay for 2 hours. But until then, run it up. Smash the like button. We here. The untouchable True School Sports Empire. He said you'd be romanticizing Japan like every wrestler on the planet. What's new? I mean, I love the country. It's a great country. But I wouldn't say, I don't think every fighter in Japan is great. And in fact, even with Junta Nakatani, right, people would think that because I love Japan so much and I love the Japanese fighters, they would think that, I'm in love with. I think Junta Nakatani is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, I do like Junta Nakatani a lot. I think he's a great fighter, a fantastic fighter. But he hasn't really fought anybody. He needs to step up his opposition. He fought one good opponent so far, or maybe two good opponents. He fought Ryosuke Nishida and Angelo Costa, and that's really about it. He hasn't really fought too many people yet to get the hype that he's gotten. According to Sean Gibbons, and Elijah Pierce versus John Rio Casimiro is a huge possibility fight for next year. He recently signed with Community Promotions, and he's now campaigning at featherweight. Interesting. Yeah, I saw that. Casimiro's with Community Promotions now. I know that Sean and his son Brendan Gibbons, I know that they have a working relationship with Community Promotions because Pedro Tajuran, who Brendan Gibbons promotes for Viva Promotions, shout out to Brendan Gibbons, a friend of the program. Pedro Tajuran was in the dressing room right next to Angelo, so Brendan Gibbons was coming in and out of our dressing room before, during, and after the fight. So yeah, I know. They're all about their working relationship, so that's not too surprising. That's a good fight. Pierce needs a name. He needs to step up because he's been fighting these guys like Arthur Villanueva. Who was the other Filipino he just fought? Michael Das Marinas, and these guys, they've challenged for titles. They're good, but Casimiro's been champion, so he's at a higher level, even if he's at a later stage in his career. We evidently aren't getting Josh Kelly and Boots. At least Boots isn't fighting guys as bad as Adriel Holmes, who Lubin just beat, and Guido Schramm. Yeah, well, that's because the reason why that fight's not going to happen is because Josh Kelly's going to turn the fight down because Josh Kelly more than likely is going to be, then I think he's going to be Xander Zaya's next opponent. I think Peter Khan, who's Xander Zaya's manager, Peter Khan is going to make that phone call to the WBO, right? He's going to tell them to mandate Josh Kelly. Top Rank's going to get behind it, and that's going to be the first defense in Puerto Rico. Zayas versus Kelly in Puerto Rico. And who knows who the hell Boots is going to fight. Benavidez is strong as hell. I've sparred him back. Okay, shout out to you, champ. I'm sure. What was that like? You said he's strong as hell. What was that hand speed like if you sparred him? Next Gen says, not gonna lie, for Junto to get really tested, I think he'd have to go to featherweight. Them super bantams that Inoue already beat are gonna be food. I agree. I think Junto is too strong for the guy. He's obviously The only guy at bantamweight that I think could give him any trouble, and even then I think he would win, is Seiya Tsutsumi because of his pressure and his volume. But even then, I'd still favor Junto. He needs to go to featherweight. I agree. Subra Matias hit list. Pitbull, Hitchens, Tio, and Paul. Hewley got 4 on his hit list. Yeah, listen, I want to see him get Hitchens, man. Hitchens better go ahead and make that fight. It looks like Junta might be moving up to super bantamweight. It will open doors for Kenneth Lovler to get a belt at super bantamweight. Yeah, Kenneth Lovler. You know, it's funny. I still haven't even watched him fight. I know about him. I know he's Filipino. I know he's highly ranked. I know he can punch. I know everybody. A lot of people are high on him, but I haven't really taken the time to watch him fight yet. So, looking forward to seeing what he could do to see if he can, you know, become the next Filipino world champion. LRZ says, I wouldn't be surprised if they make Earl versus Xander Zayas. Man, that's a bit of a stretch, but they were talking about, there's this rumor floating around that apparently Xander Zayas is going to fight Giovanni Santillan, and that just sounds top rank. That just sounds like a top rank fight. Like, nobody asked for that shit, but top rank going to do it. BT, I always see Sean Gibbons around in boxing fights. Is he a promoter? Yes, and he's quite influential. He has a big Sean Gibbons has a big stronghold on the Filipino boxing market. Promotes a lot of Filipino fighters. So because of that, you know, he also works a lot with like Mr. Honda, Tekken Promotions. So funny enough, I was the only American boxing media channel to cover Naoya Inoue versus Yi Jun Kim. In fact, to this very day, I'm still the only American boxing media person to cover Naoya Inoue live in Japan. And I went backstage for that fight. I went to the dressing rooms for some of the fighters on the card. And I remember one time when I went back there, I actually saw Sean Gibbons in the hall. So he's everywhere. He's everywhere in the boxing world. He has a good relationship with Al Heyman and PBC. So yeah, he's a promoter, and he has a son, Brendan Gibbons, who has his own promotional company. So Sean Gibbons has his thing, and Brendan Gibbons has his thing. It's his promotional company is called Viva Promotions, and he's got like Brendan Gibbons has Elijah Pierce, he has Pedro Tajuan, and a couple other guys. So yeah, the Gibbons family is tapped into this boxing game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Angel Diaz says, BT, talk to me about Oscar Collazo's potential big fights. I'm getting into the smaller weight classes because of Collazo. Well, you came to the right place, man, because, you know, I know quite a lot about these smaller weight classes. Now, I would say, you know, if we're talking strictly about the minimum weight division, 105 pounds, obviously the biggest fights for Collazo are going to be the unification fights with the two Filipino champions, which is Melvin Jerusalem, who Oscar Collazo already beat. So if they fought again, it would be a rematch. And Melvin Jerusalem is a very dangerous fighter. You know, Jerusalem can really, really punch, but Collazo's already shown he can handle that. So if they do a unification fight, that'd be a rematch. The other Filipino world champion currently occupies the IBF title is Pedro Tajuan, and Pedro Tajuan, he just knocked out that Japanese fighter Jinjiro Shigioka and damn near killed him. And Pedro Tajuan is as serious as a heart attack. So for me, that right there for Collazo, if we're talking about the 105-pound division, that is the hardest fight out there for him. As far as the, I guess, like the contenders, like potential contenders that might fight him, the number one contender and the guy that might fight him, who is the WBA mandatory, is well, I don't know if he's mandatory, but he's the number one contender, is Uni Takada, who's like half Filipino, half Japanese, so he's got like half Pacquiao, half Inoue in him. I actually interviewed him on this channel when I was in Japan back in January. He's got like 7 losses or some shit like that. But yo, that dude, I'm telling you right now, that guy right there, he comes to fight. So if Collazo's defense ain't tight with a guy like Uni Takada, he could get hurt. But I think Collazo to be too skillful for him. But that'd be a fun fight. So that's really like the my radar as far as like the guys at 105. A fight that I think would be great for Collazo if he were to decide to move up would be the going up to 108 and challenging the current WBO champion, who's also Puerto Rican, Rene Santiago. Santiago is he's a solid boxer. Um, I like that fight. But a fight, if I could have my dream fight for Collazo, and I'll move on. I'm gonna move on to the next comments after this. But if I had my dream fight for Oscar Collazo, I would like to see Oscar Collazo go up to 108, and hopefully there will be a title on the line. I would like to see Oscar Collazo go up to 108 in like a year or two, and go ahead and fight the one of the fighters from Japan, Yuga Osaki. I think Yuga Osaki is one of the best young talents from not just Japan, but in all boxing. I think like he kind of has an American style. He boxes a little bit like Shakur and Lomachenko and Bam. He's got a little bit of all those guys in his style. He's really good. I think people should watch him. So that's my dream fight for Oscar. But Oscar's main fights are the ones at 105 against the Filipinos. Why are people giving White with massive experience no chance against Moses? Because Dillian White is the most durable guy in the world, and is going to be at a massive hand speed disadvantage against Itama. I'll be honest with you. He's a veteran, and if he can't land the left hook, of course, it's going to give him problems. But I don't think that fight's going past the 5th round. I think he's going to get packed up badly against Moses Itama. Them small weight classes under 130 just don't interest me. It's like the women's boxing to me. Competition ain't the same. That's how I feel about 130 and 147. 147 don't got no comp. 130 don't got no comp. And what makes it even worse is fights don't even happen. The top guys don't even fight each other most of the time in them weight classes. It takes forever to get to the smoke. So the way you feel about the lower weight class, that's how I feel about a lot of these higher weight classes. They duck and they act soft to hide behind money. But really, a lot of these guys don't really want no fights. 130, like everybody gathers up 130. I think 130 is whack. I think 130 is one of the wackest weight classes in all boxing right now. You got first of all, you got the WBA champion, right? Who's not even really Lamont Roach really isn't the champion because he's gonna vacate the belt at some point. So he's not even the champion. So that means you got Jazza Dickens, who's the interim champion, who's probably gonna fight some guy we never fucking heard of named Elner Samadov for the vacant belt once he vacates. So that ain't, y'all think that's great. You got Oshaki Foster, who's a good fighter, right? But like he's not no pound for pound talent. Mayo Navarrete, good fighter, but he's in the back nine. And I mean, I like Sugar Nunez. That's probably my favorite guy of the champions. But like there's no clear cut guy at 130, and there's nobody that you look at 130 and say that has a belt right now, or even with the contenders. I mean, there's like you got guys like Hayato Tsutsumi, you got guys like Ford, but there's nobody out there in the top 15 or that are champions that you can bang on the table and definitively say, hey, that guy's gonna be a pound for pound talent. So 130 to me is whack. Least in some of the lighter weight categories, you got guys that's pound for pound talents that can actually, be on that type of level. But to each their own. Everybody has their own preferences. Damn, Rene Santiago Collazo is not a day for Puerto Rico. We need to keep Santiago with his belt. I'm just telling you a fight that I think makes sense for Collazo and could do good business, because you got to think of it like, okay, what's a good fight for him in terms of legacy, and what will be a good enough fight for like Golden Boy Promotions to bankroll the money, So I'm thinking that way. Zoltan Zauerbek, he's again, he's from Kazakhstan. I've seen him fight one time. I'm actually gonna do a video on him soon. But like even with a guy like Zoltan, I saw him fight one time. Jury's still out. What are your thoughts on Emir Marcial? Have you seen him fight? He's got it by... I've seen clips. I got to watch more, but I've seen clips. Seems to have a lot of hype behind him, but I don't really have like a definitive opinion on him. I just know he's been getting some hype. BT, what are your thoughts on Eric Cabrera? I wanted my Mets to trade for him. I don't think the Marlins should trade Eric Cabrera. I think trading him is incredibly stupid. I think he's a frontline, number 1, number 2 type starter. You keep a guy like that. I've been said this, 154 is a division that is overhyped. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be overhyped now more than ever because Jerron Ennis went there. So now everyone's gonna talk about how there's so many killers there, and then no one's gonna fight each other, right? Like Bakram's gonna fight Lubin, and I don't think much of him. Lubin don't think much of me, and I really don't think much of him. So he's gonna fight Lubin. You got one of these guys that's gonna go ahead and fight Kelly. Um, it's just Boots is probably gonna try to fight Teles. That's what Boots is gonna do. Boots is ranked number 2 in the WBA. I told you guys he's gonna go fight Yoenis Teles. That's what he's gonna go try to do. Like, nah, man, 54 has potential, but it ain't what people think it is. But it's better than 47. I'll say it's better than 47 is right now. Quincy says, "Yo, BT, I met your boy Johnny at the Pack fight. I told him I've been a fan of the channel. Really cool guy. Shout out to you, man. Yeah, I think Johnny told me he met a couple people. He told me he met a couple people at the fight that were like, yo, you're BT's friend. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like I'm not even at the fights, and people see my friends, and they want to. Like people will ask for pictures with Johnny. That's pretty cool to know that people appreciate the work here on this channel so much so to the point where they're going here and they're getting pictures with them. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Shout out to Johnny. I want to know the reason why you have your doubts on Boots. I thought he was a killer. Shit, I thought he was too. I still think he's a very good fighter. The reason why I'm like, I've been starting to really like, ever since it literally all started with the Karen 1 fight. The first Karen fight is where I started to slowly but surely sell my stock in Jerron Ennis, because I saw a lot in that fight that I didn't like. Now, of course, I said that he didn't look that great in the fight, and the whole of Philadelphia came in my chat and said, nah, Boots won 12-0, right? But I know what I saw, right? Then he fought Karen again and still didn't look like what he needed to look like for me to have that confidence in him. So I think Boots has a problem with movers, counter punchers, and when you look at how his career has been guided, he hasn't really fought any punchers, right? He hasn't fought any punchers his whole career. And, when Crawford and Spence, when their time was done and, he emerged as the guy in the division was very barren. There wasn't a whole lot of names or guys that people wanted to see fight him, right? And so I was begging him for like a year and a half, move, or at least a year, move up to 154. Nobody wants to see none of this shit. It doesn't even matter if you go undisputed because there's nobody around. And the whole time I'm saying this, people are like, no, BT, Jerron Ennis he's trying to solidify his legacy. He wants to go undisputed. He don't need to go 154 now, right? So he waits and he twiddles his thumbs and does nothing for like over a year, and he allows Brian Norman Jr. to emerge as a guy that people want to see him fight. So then it finally comes time to fight Brian Norman Jr. And he pulls one of the biggest whole moves I've ever seen in boxing. Him and Eddie Hearn told Brian Norman Jr. they were going to negotiate after the Sasaki fight, and then the day of Norman versus Sasaki, he goes ahead and he says, I'm moving up to 154, and he said, y'all say this with a smoke at, right? And he moves up there. So yeah, like I know people will say Brian Norman Jr. turned out the 1.7 million, and you're more than justified to say that he ducked Jerron Ennis. I did at one point, but this is why fighters have managers, because look how well they played it. Okay, so they didn't get the 1.7 for the Boots fight, right? But they still got over $1 million to fight in Japan, right? Norman has gotten 3 highlight reel knockouts since he turned down that offer. And yeah, 3, right? Two highlight reels. So his stock has shot through the roof, right? His stock shot through the roof to the point where people were clamoring to see him fight Boots. And on top of that, and Norman developed, got better, got more confidence in himself. So the fight made more sense, and it was better now, all right? Better now than when it was first offered. But Boots didn't even try to make the fight, and he pulled out, and they pulled out all these stops to fight Stanionis. He took a pay cut to fight Stanionis, did all of his Stanionis, but he wouldn't do the same thing for Norman, which was a much bigger fight. So it feels like his career to me is resembling Demetrius Andrade. And look, I'll be the first to raise my hand with two hands and say, you guys know if you were following me in 2021, 2020, 2019, you guys would know I was a big Andrade fan. I was on the Demetrius Andrade crusade. But the reality is, every time it came time to make the right move from a management standpoint, they made the move that got in the way every single time, damn near. So Boots' career to me is reminding me a lot of Andrade. I've seen this movie before, and I'm not enjoying the sequel with Jerron Ennis. That's just the truth. I'm not enjoying the sequel, and I feel like it's going to continue at 154. I said it on Sean the night of Norman Sasaki. I said it on Sean Zatel's channel. I said, look, Boots is going to go to 154, and he's going to go to try to fight Yoenis Telis. He's not going to fight Bakram. He's not going to go fight Virgil. He's not going to go fight none of these guys you're talking about. He's going to go the WBA route and fight Yoenis Telis. And guess what? The WBA just ranked him at number 2. So guess what route he's going to go? He's going to go there. And he just tried to fight Josh Kelly, which I also told you guys that he would try to do. Now, Kelly turned it down because Kelly is getting a better opportunity against Xander, more than likely. But, yeah, he's just moving funny. It just feels very Andrade like. And look, I'm not gonna go through all the mental gymnastics I had to go through back then to convince myself that Andrade was in the right. He, like, a lot of the time, yeah, of course some guys did duck Andrade. They're like, there is truth. There are guys that were reluctant to fight Andrade. There are guys that are reluctant to fight Boots. There is truth in that because these guys are very good fighters. But at some point, it's like, bro, you gotta take the damn fight. Zero killers at Boots will be fighting at 154 for the next year. Oh yeah, I'm thinking. Look, he's gonna fight. He's probably gonna fight. I don't know. Let me see. Is Brian Mendoza ranked at 154? No, he's not. Okay, so he won't fight them. Maybe he fights like a Kyle Meat Jarko, because I've also mentioned him as a potential Boots opponent. I know he's fighting soon on the Patty Donovan card. But I'll say man, Boots will probably fight like a Kyle Meat Jarko or like a Magomed Kurbanov, something like that. He's not gonna fight. Some of you guys mentioned Ramos. He's not fighting Ramos. He's gonna fight someone like Magomed Kurbanov or Kyle Meat Jarko. Someone that is or that's been in the matchroom boxing sphere. You know, and then after one of them fights to get his feet wet, because Boots needs a tune-up, because Boots isn't good enough apparently to just come into the division and fight a champion. He needs a tune-up. Then he's gonna fight Yoenis Telis, and then all the Boots fans are gonna come on my channel and tell me that he just beat some sort of killer because he beat an undefeated Cuban champion. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Boots, Hearn will guide his career like a well-made paper airplane. Yeah, that's how I feel. BT, are you buying MAP stock at this moment? It seems like they're grabbing all women's world champions and have a solid set of fight cards. You know, I like MVP. I like what they're doing for women's boxing. I think they match their cards very, very well. I think all MVP boxing needs to do, MVP promotion needs to do, I think they need to go ahead and they need to sign a legitimate male world champion. It's all well and good to have these women's fighters, but when MVP really, really gets on and popping, it's going to be when they sign a legitimate, like in their prime, male world champion. So, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I love what they're doing, and I think they're one of the most well-ran companies in boxing. I don't agree with Jake Paul. Like, I had to delete a video because I was talking some bullshit. Like, Jake Paul and Turkey and Dana White are all on the same team, trying to amend the Ali Act. So, you know, I don't like. I had to delete a video because I was sitting here saying like Jake Paul's better than Turkey, but the reality is that Jake Paul and Turkey are on the same team. So BT exposed. I don't know what I was talking about when I made that video, but yeah, man. For now, they're good. Am I next to a fan? I mean, there's like the AC thing outside. Hyro, who's been commenting like 10 times with the same comment, spamming the comment section, he said, he deleted it. He said, admit it, 126 is your 115. You like a division that champions don't fight each other, and when they unify the vacant belt. No, no. I like weight classes that have multiple guys who are, let me see. Yeah, I like weight classes that have at least one guy who has pound for pound level potential, that have great fighters. I don't give a damn about all the other stuff we're talking. I don't care about that. But when a weight class has multiple pound for pound level talents or guys that have that ability, and then it has a lot of depth, man, I would love to. I love the weight class because there's a lot of, like, even the guys. If you look at the sanctioning bodies, if you go to like the lower top 15, some of them guys in the bottom parts of the top 15 at featherweight could even fight. Like, you look at like a guy like Nikita Nakano or Basie Ramirez or Diane Gonzalez. These guys are really good fighters. And other weight classes, when you look at the bottom five of the sanctioning bodies, they don't have fighters of that caliber. No, I know a lot of those guys aren't big names, but I've watched them fight. I know how good those guys are. I like the class, but the end of the day, the talk is big, but nobody is fighting each other. Right now, I mean, let me see. Well, Nick Ball, the only person the only two people that you could really criticize, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree if you want, but the only two people that you could criticize for not fighting anybody is Nick Ball and Espinoza, because Nick Ball hasn't fought a featherweight since he won the title, and Espinoza has defended the belt enough to where now he should be looking for a unification fight. Angelo Leo hasn't even been world champion for a year, and Stephen Fulton's not gonna be at featherweight anymore. So, make it that what you will. I've seen like 20 interviews of champions saying they want to unify, but they don't. That's not true. That's not true. Angelo Leo wants to unify. It's Top Rank. It's Bob Arum. There's an interview right on this channel. I asked Bob Arum last June. I asked Bob. I said, Bob, can we get these champions to unify each other? And he said no. You can't get no champions to unify each other because he wants to keep like Espinoza and Leo with the belts for when Inoue moves up there. All right. So then when they announced that Inoue's gonna fight Junta Nakatani, I asked Bob again. I asked Bob at Inoue Card last fight week. I said, Bob, now that Inoue has laid his plans out, can we get the unification fights now? And then he blamed it on the fighters' management teams and said, oh, well, I could make those fights, but these guys have very savvy teams, and, come on, man. Make Leo and Carrington with Riyadh. It's unification of WBC and IBF. Bob can't do anything. Bruce hasn't won the belt yet. You can't say make a unification fight if Bruce hasn't won the belt. Yeah, that's all I'll say on that. I think more than likely Angelo's next fight is going to be a voluntary defense, and honestly, it should be a voluntary defense. He just went to Japan and defended the belt against his mandatory, so let that young man go get a voluntary defense. He just fought the best champion in the division at the time when he fought him, knocked him out, and then he fought a former world champion for his first defense. So let him get a voluntary, and then first 6 months of 2026 unification, whether it's Shushu or Espinoza. Out of all the top guys, Majmov is who I'm least impressed about. It's crazy too because he did do pretty good against Crawford. He did. So that's a big red flag. That's a big red flag for Crawford going into a Canelo fight. That Majmov did good against him. I'm sorry, bro. I've been telling people because people are excusing the fact that Virgil Ortiz openly avoided the Xander Zayas fight to fight Majmov. And yes, he did avoid the fight because Xander was offered the fight, and Xander said yes. And Virgil fought Majmov, who is not a bigger name than Xander Zayas. I'm sorry, he's not. Someone was trying to tell me that Majmov is a bigger name than Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas got the whole Puerto Rico behind him. He got top-ranked bankrolling money behind him since he's 16 years old for the last 6 years of his career. For the last 6 years, but yet Majmov is bigger than him. Come on, man. I don't want to hear about Majmov. Majmov is literally one of the most overrated championship level fighters in boxing today. And I'm so happy that Virgil beat him easier than Crawford did, because it shows you how overrated that Crawford fight was. I think Inoue's dad said something like he's not sure if Inoue will go up to 126 because of the power at 126. I personally have come to the conclusion, because I've seen Inoue this calendar year in person. I've seen Inoue about 6 times. Like, I've been to Ohashi Gym a couple times. I saw Inoue in person back in June. There was one night where I went to Ohashi Boxing Gym to go interview Brian Norman Jr. And he was in there. He was in there doing some sit ups, and I saw him like from like it was pretty like I wasn't that far from him. He's small, like he is small, because I know how big Angelo is, and I know how big Espinoza is in person, and I know how big Shushu is in person. I've seen all these guys in person. He is a small guy for featherweight. So look, if you don't go to featherweight, like, I understand it. I'd like to see him go there, but I understand it. Might actually be the best thing to happen for the division, so these guys could just start unifying. Honestly, because look, the reality is all these guys are gonna hope and pray that Inoue come to featherweight and they can get their shot at him, because it's the same thing with Canelo. It's the reason why. Think about it. But before Canelo became a super middleweight, right? Let's go back in our time machine for a bit. Canelo, way back when, before he became a 168 pounder, Caleb Plant had a belt, Billy Joe had a belt, Callum Smith had a belt, and all these guys had belts, but they didn't fight each other. But guess what? When Canelo came to the division, they all started fighting him, and then Canelo beat them all, and he became undisputed. So it's like it's the same scenario. Hyro did, and I'll give credit to Hyro. He did always say that Madrimal was overrated, because he definitely is. Madrimov has a better resume than Perez. Who has he defeated that is better than Charles Conwell? Who has Madrimov defeated that is better than Charles Conwell? He lost to Virgil. He lost to Crawford. He beat Magomed Kurbanov, one of the worst world title opponents in recent memory. Who has he beat? Who has he beat legitimately? Because even the Michael Soro fights were questionable. Cardenas is overrated. I think Inoue didn't take him serious. He was only sparring with Takuma. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're actually right about that. Um, because for this camp right here, I mean, man, Inoue sparring the Japan All Star. He's sparring Nikita Nakano, Subaru Murata, Kenji Fujita, Marlon Tapales, everyone. All the power punching southpaws he can find, he's sparring them. I never seen Inoue pull out more stops for a training camp than for this merge on fight. So I wasn't excited for the merge on fight, but because I see how serious Inoue is taking it, I'm getting excited for the merge on fight, because I feel like this might be one of them performances, like, where he really comes out here and he really shows, you know, why he's one of them guys. Kurbanov is like the Russian version of William Skull. That dude lost to Liam Beefy Smith and got a gift. Yeah, he's pretty bad. If he fights featherweight or really anybody now, I think he'll be working a bit harder. I think he and Ohashi got complacent after Doheny and Kim. I would be too. Those were cupcake fights for him. Honestly, they're gonna have to. I'm gonna tell you right now. Right now, I'm not speaking as BT Truth. I'm speaking as BT part of Team Leo. He's gonna have to work harder than he's ever worked in his life at featherweight, because all those guys, and especially Angelo, are gonna work to knock his block off. Um, BT, when is Arizona Lara gonna fight again? Hopefully never, man. I'm tired of Lara. And if he does fight again, I hope he fight Ian Green. You know, at middleweight, my boy Ian Green. Fight Ian Green, one of the best middleweights in the world. You know, but who is Leo fighting next, BT? There's a couple names that I've heard that I've talked with the team about. It's not anything you guys are gonna like, but it's a couple names. It's a couple of names. We should have a Leo versus Scooter rematch. We should. We should. Unfortunately, only one of us wants that fight. You know, and it ain't him. You know, and I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to say things and get in trouble. If I talk too much, I'll get in trouble. But shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're here live. BT, where is Leo gonna fight on Top Rank? Won't get a TV deal till 2026. I don't know. I don't know yet. But he's not. He's not a top. He's a free agent right now, so he might not even sign with Top Rank. Maybe he signs with PBC. Maybe he signs with Golden Boy. Maybe he signs with Matchroom. Maybe he signs with MVP. Maybe he signs with Turkey. Who knows what Anzo's gonna do? I don't even know what he's gonna do. To be honest with you, I don't know who he's gonna sign with. But he's not. He's a free agent right now. MFs are gonna fall into a deep depression after MJ crushes the world. F in a way. Yo, I'm telling y'all right now, if oh my god, bro, I'm not like I love in a way, but like the going to Japan and kind of dealing with Ohashi Jim over the years, it's kind of like I'm still a big fan of him as a fighter, but it's not like it used to be. But still, like, bro, in a way, he's still one of my favorite fighters. He's still a big part of this channel's history. If he did all this stuff in his boxing career, all these great things in his career, to lose to fucking Merjan Akhmadaliev, that would be terrible. Like, that would be the worst thing for boxing, because Merjan is gonna be in a way and nothing is gonna happen. Nothing. Like, Merjan is gonna be in a way and he's like not gonna even become that big of a star, because Merjan doesn't really have, like, if Inoue is gonna lose, hopefully he can lose to like Junto, Espinoza, Angelo Leo, someone like who's got potential to like be someone that actually is good for boxing. Merjan doesn't really have like he's not gonna be. I'm telling y'all right now, it's gonna be like when Bivol beat Canelo. Bivol beat Canelo, and he didn't become like this big star. Like, nah, man, I'm good on Merjan. And plus, Merjan has done the bare minimum all these years. I don't want that rewarded. So hopefully Inoue wins this fight. And then I don't really care if he beats Junto. I don't care if he beats Junto. After Merjan, if Inoue beats Merjan after him, they're gonna do one of the gayest fights in the history of boxing, which is gonna be Inoue versus Picasso. Which, oh my god, bro! If they do that fight, oh my god, I'm gonna do so much shit talking on Inoue, and people are gonna hate me, but it's gonna have to happen because Picasso just fought Kiyonosuke Kameda, and Kiyonosuke Kameda is he's a domestic level Japanese fighter. Like, that's a motherfucker that fights at Korakuen Hall. He's never gonna fight. I mean, he fought on PBC on the prelims. So that's a pretty good level. But like, he's a Korakuen Hall fighter. He shouldn't be fighting no more higher than that Korakuen Hall. And he fought Picasso, and that fight was nip and tuck. Like, if Kiyonosuke Kameda's fundamentals were a little better, he could have beat Picasso, because his athleticism and his length and all that kind of stuff, that was giving him problems. So mind you, Inoue's athleticism is at a higher level than Kameda. Everything about him is at a higher level than Kameda. He gonna beat the brakes off Picasso. And Picasso, he's a Mexican fighter, but he's not like no Mexican star. So nah, man. Alan Picasso, he's a part-time college student. If Inoue fights him, he's gonna get turned into a full-time college student. He's gonna get his college credits faster. I don't want to see that fight. In a perfect world, Inoue just beats Merjan and just go into the Junto fight. Like, let Junto get a fight at 122. If he wins his fight, okay. Then you can just do the fight next summer at the Tokyo Dome. Don't do Inoue Picasso. No, hell no. Picasso is trash. I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to like practice sprinkling my words with grace and salt, but sometimes I gotta be blunt and I gotta talk crazy, because if I don't talk crazy, if I don't say it how it is, no one else is, and I gotta. Sometimes people in boxing see these videos, so if I ruffle the feathers enough, they'll think twice about doing certain things, because then people are gonna, agree with what I'm saying. Junto isn't until May. Exactly. He should fight. Inoue should fight Merjan. He should take all the rest he needs to be as fresh as a daisy when he fights in May against Junto. Junto should fight one more time and then rest up until we gotta fight Inoue. Let them both get the rest, because that fight's gonna be a war. You don't need to have these guys super sharp and super active. I'm not trying to see Inoue versus Picasso. Fight is terrible. Says the dude that just said the gay. That's my yeah. I mean, like sometimes I gotta be blunt. If I was on Sean Tatel's channel, another channel, I'd probably tone it down. But we on True School right now, so I can talk crazy on my own channel because it's my channel. I talk crazy on my channel. That fight is happening, sadly. It is. I know for a fact it is. That's why I got a video on my dashboard. I made a video a couple days ago, but I got it scheduled to come out later on. I'm already making videos shitting on Inoue versus Picasso before he even fights Merjan because I know if he beats Merjan, they're gonna have Picasso ringside. They're gonna have him get in the ring. Nah, man, fuck all that. All right, so we're 2 hours in. So guys, I'm gonna go 10 more minutes and then I'm gonna get up off here because let's see what time is it. It's 2 in the morning. Eventually I gotta get some rest, but shout out to everybody here. Thank you for rocking with me. Shout out to Kenneth Sims, Dwarte for a good fight. Shout out to Jojo Diaz and Prograis for a great fight. I enjoy the fights tonight, and hopefully you guys did. Yeah, but if Inoue has fought 4 or 5 times here, how can you knock it? I'm not knocking it. I think it's okay. Like, okay, be active. I just don't want Picasso to get the fight. He doesn't deserve it. He sucks. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he shouldn't be ranked #1. And he's not that good. He's solid. He's a good body punch. He's got a good motor, but like he sucks. Like I just watched him fight a domestic level Corkin Hall fighter and go tit for tat with him. No, man. No, absolutely not. Get him off my lawn. Get him off my obstacle. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that shit. Just go merge on Junto. Don't go merge because I'm gonna tell you this, man. I'm so serious because I like Inoue. Look, let me show y'all something because people talk crazy, right? People talk crazy and they say, "Oh, BT, you hate Inoue. You want him to lose. You want this. You want that." Look, I got Inoue on my wall. Look, I got Inoue on my wall. This is a picture of this is a magazine in 2013 of Inoue. I don't know if y'all can see that. I got Inoue on my wall. I don't got too many fighters on my wall. It's only the fighters that I actually like. So if you get on my wall, I'm a big fan. So I love Inoue. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this: if Inoue fights David Picasso or Alan Picasso, where the hell his name is, and he loses to him, bro, you thought I was hard on Canelo for losing the big ball. You thought I was hard on Munguia. Let Inoue lose to Picasso and watch how crazy I start talking. I want Nick Ball in the UK with Inoue alone. He's gonna knock his veneers out. Yeah. I'd be okay with that because I'm tired of Nick Ball too, and I'm tired of people acting like he could do something at featherweight with the other champions. He can't. Maybe he could beat Shushu, but he ain't beating no Espinoza, and he damn sure ain't beating no Angelo Leo. So I promise you that one. Is Inoue's defense becoming leaky like Kenshiro? Inoue and Kenshiro are both doing the same thing. The only difference is that Inoue punch. He's a harder puncher than Kenshiro. Kenshiro used to really be able to box. Like I was going back earlier today. I was watching some old Kenshiro fights. I watched like the Gangi and Lopez rematch. I watched the Kiyoguchi fight. I watched the Ibuki rematch. Yo, Kenshiro used to really box. Like he used to really actually like use his jab and be patient and use his legs to dart in and out. And he had a very good command of distance. He used to actually like kind of fight in a high guard sometimes. He don't do that no more. Somewhere along the line, he fell in love with his power and going to war, and everything went wrong for him, right? And the same thing's happened to Inoue. So I think he needs to get back to basics. So I would say, in a sense, yes, you're right, Harold. He is kind of being like Kenshiro a little bit. Inoue can't fight Picasso, but Bam can fight an old-ass Argentine scrub. Nah, bro, we're not doing that. We're not doing that, bro. Puma Martinez is a good fighter. Puma Martinez is Puma Martinez is a significantly better fighter than bum-ass Picasso. I'm sorry. I'm trying to not like talk crazy. I'm trying to like be professional, but like Picasso's in the most professional way I could say it. Picasso is just not a top world level fighter like that. I feel like Inoue should just fight Junto. Just let Picasso should fight Elijah Pierce. He should fight Marlon Tapales. He should fight a top contender to really show and prove that he really is one of the top contenders at 122. I swear on my life, that's what he should do. I feel like because of who he has behind him with Zanford Promotions, he's getting favoritism that he shouldn't be getting with the WBC. And I'm just talking. I'm just talking what it is. Now, my man right here, he's correcting me. My man Miguelito PR says, "Brother, don't trash any boxer, even if you don't like it. Be more professional." I do gotta be professional, but I mean, I gotta be blunt. I'm trying to find the middle ground because these people in boxing, bro, I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna be a bit unprofessional here. I don't like when people show me a picture of chicken shit and try to tell me that it's chicken salad. Like, what I mean is, I don't like when I watch a fighter, and I know a little bit about boxing. When I watch a fighter, I know for a fact that I can look at a guy and know if he's world level or not, or if he's at that moment in time truly deserving of a shot, right? I've watched Alan Picasso fight 4 or 5 times. He is not. He shouldn't even be considered for an in-weight fight. He should be fighting Tapales, Sam Goodman, Elijah Pierce, these kind of guys. And then if he could beat one of those guys, okay, then it's a different story, and I change my tone. But we're not doing that. He's gonna fight. Like, come on, bro. You know, that's he's a good fighter. I'm not saying that he doesn't have good things. That he does have a good motor. He can body punch. He's obviously a good body puncher, like many Mexican fighters are. But he's just not. He doesn't even have the experience to be ready for a guy like Inoue. Like, it's just not. It's not even fair to him. Like from a. Because remember, like I don't think about boxing like a lot of you guys do. Most of the time when I look at boxing, I'm looking at it strictly from like a managerial standpoint. It's retarded to have him fight now Inoue right now. He's not ready. Puma's been inactive. Of course, Bam is ready to fight him now. You know what's funny, guys? You guys may think I'm crazy for this, but you tell me. I have 2 theories as to why Kenshiro Taraji did not get. I have 3 theories as to why Kenshiro Taraji didn't get the decision against Sandoval, and one of them involves Bam because Kenshiro Taraji wanted to fight Bam. He was planning on going up to 115 his next fight to fight for the IBF title against Rivaldo Garcia. So if he would have got the decision, that's what he would have did. And maybe Mr. Honda didn't want him to go up to 115 and be in line to fight Bam, right? So that could be a reason. Then you have Takami, the 108 champion who just won. He's gonna come up to the division, so maybe they didn't want Kenshiro with the belt up there when he goes up there. And then I don't know, man. I don't know how they didn't give him that decision. I thought he won. But I feel like either way, Mr. Honda's pulling the strings, man. Maybe they feel like, you know what, he's 34 years old. We've used him up already. We can't make no more money off of Kenshiro no more than we've already have. So let's get him out of here. Let's get us an American. Not gonna lie, Bam would do Kenshiro dirty, but Bam need to be at 118, 112 himself, 122 himself. It sounds good. It sounds good in theory. I still don't think he would destroy Kenshiro. Kenshiro fought the guy he fought one of the guys Bam should have been fighting when he was at 112, which was Ricardo Sandoval. All the Chicanos that Bam should have been trying to fight when he was at 112, Kenshiro fought them. They made Kenshiro fight all the tough guys while Bam fought the old guys. All the young guys, Kenshiro had to fight them. Bam got to fight the old guard that had a name like Quadras and Rungvisai. Nope. Kenshiro had to fight Olas Kawaga. Kenshiro had to fight Ricardo Sandoval. Young, strong, prime guys heading towards their prime or in their prime. Harold said, look at the rankings at 115. All right, I'm gonna look. Let me go look. By the way, shout out to all 38 of you guys still listening to me shoot my mouth off about boxing. Let me see. Like, and I'm not trying to, like, I know people are going to say, BT, here you go with that Japanese shit again. But look, just explain this to me. Please explain it to me. How does Bam have the most influential person from Japan promoting him? And he fights in weight classes that are not predominantly, but have a lot of top Japanese fighters. But Bam hasn't fought a Japanese fighter yet. That's not a coincidence to me. I feel like that's intentional. And it's Mr. Honda doing it. Second Promotion's doing it. Now, he said, look at the WBC rankings at 115.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. Carlos Cuadras is 1 and Roman Gonzalez is 2. So when Bam drops the belt, they could do the Cuadras Roman Gonzalez rematch almost 10 years later for the vacant title. Oh, that's that. And guess and let's pop quiz, guys. Who is Carlos Cuadras and Roman Gonzalez promoted by? Mr. Honda. So it always adds up. They tried to blame it on Nakatani. Yeah, I saw a lot of people blaming it on Nakatani. I saw Pizza Garcia, Robert's son, go on Cigar Talks, and I saw a clip on Twitter where he was saying that like him and Najee were trying to frame it like Bam, like Junto ducked Bam, bro. Bam can't duck Junto. Junto can't duck Bam. They both wanted to fight each other, but they couldn't fight each other because, as it was confirmed, Robert Garcia, guess what? Mr. Honda blocked the fight, and it's that simple. He blocked the fight. Robert Garcia told y'all he told you guys after the Kafu fight. What I told you guys back in March. Made a whole video about it back in March because that's what we do here on True School Sports. We tell you things in advance, and they come to pass. Shout out to Al Powell with the super chat. He says, "Here for hot and spicy for McDonald's." Thank you, champ. Appreciate it. Nakatani washes Bam easily. I'd love to see the fight because I feel like they need each other. Like Bam needs to fight someone that's young. I mean, he fought Kafu, and that's a good win. I won't demean the Kafu fight. Like Kafu was a good win, but he needs to fight someone that universally is recognized as an A-level fighter that's young. Like, and he hasn't done that yet. And Junto needs a guy like that. They need each other, but of course it's not gonna happen because Mr. Honda has this different mentality that he doesn't like to match his own fighters up with each other because they're a family. So it's just weird. I learned recently that apparently he comes from like the banking industry or something like that. So, he don't even like he comes from the banking industry. He comes from the finance world. Someone from Japan told me that he comes from the finance world. So, he's got his way. Like obviously, look, he's very good at his job. He's been promoting boxing for a long time and doing it very well. He's got a lot of fighters paid. He's in the Boxing Hall of Fame. I can't. The results speak for themselves, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like he don't be on some foolishness sometimes because he is sometimes. Al the Pow, $10. Thank you again, champ. Al the Pow with showing the love with the super chat. We here. Let's be real. There's no way Bam wants to do the fight. He didn't even want old Chocolatito. Yeah, I to be honest with you, I feel like because they sparred. I know they sparred, and my good friend Christina Ramirez, she was there when they sparred, and I remember I asked her about it one day. I texted her one day about it, and from all reports I got from her and other people I know at that gym, the sparring was very good. And I felt like if Bam would have really, really like destroyed Roman Gonzalez in sparring or like really gotten better of him to the point that he wanted to, that fight would have got made. But it didn't get made because Roman still showed that he had enough in that gas tank to where it's not like a Cuadras fight or it's not like a Rumbleside fight or it's not like the fights. That's what I believe. Shakur got hit damn near 300 times against Zepeda. Well, yeah, I mean, volume puncher. Bam wants nothing to do with legit challenges. I'm trying not to like I really don't. I don't get any joy out of making any sort of disparaging remarks about Bam Rodriguez. Because Bam Rodriguez is bringing a lot of attention to these weight classes that I love. So in a sense, it's good, but it's pissing me off because people that don't watch these weight classes try to tell me about fighters that I've been watching for like years on end. Like they try to tell me about Ricardo Sandoval and Ken Shiro. Like, I've been watching Ricardo Sandoval and Ken Shiro for like longer than a lot of these people that talk to me have been watching boxing. So it's just like I'm not trying to hear that shit. I would like to see him in a fight against another pound for pound guy. Ken Shiro was on the pound for pound list. He's probably gonna get removed. That would have been it for him. Would have been great. Like would have been a great fight, but it's not gonna happen. Junto is a fight like that. It's not gonna happen. So like when is he gonna fight someone that's on the pound for pound list or close to it or looked at to be a pound for pound talent that's not like past their best?
Zepeda throws a lot of punches. Dude earned my respect. Still lost, but I thought he did better than the judging gave credit. I gave Zepeda 4 rounds. I think that's fair. I thought Zepeda won about 4 rounds. Yeah, 4 rounds is fair. Good fighter, you know. I think Shakur still got to tighten some things up, but good for him to get Zepeda's name on his resume. Bam is gonna fight Donaire. That wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't shock me. Not one iota. That wouldn't shock me. Robert Garcia was signed by Mr. Honda. Yeah. When it comes to these weight classes, guys, all roads lead, like, majority of the time, all roads lead to Mr. Honda. So if something is or isn't happening, you can point the finger at Mr. Honda. And that's pretty much what I do. Not out of hate or not out of spite, just to put you guys on game so you guys can understand what's really going on. Like, Bam is definitely fighting Donaire. He is the legend killer. He's like Randy Orton. And to be fair, like, Donaire doesn't seem to care about his own health. Like, he just wants to keep fighting, you know. And it is what it is. Shout out to him and shout out to Rachel. Prime Kyoguchi, prime Pedro Guevara, prime Connie Salas, prime Olas Quagga. Now Bam's pound. Now Pete Bam's pound for pound resume. Yeah, like, people want to talk about Ken Shiro and how he's not pound for pound, bro. Ken Shiro's resume is like 5 times better than Bam's. They're giving Bam the retirement home. Well, they like him. It is what it is. The way boxing is, people always ask me. They say, BT, do you think boxing's fixed? And, you know, at the highest of levels, like, yeah, like, I think when you talk about like Canelo fights and fights that have that, any fight that generates the kind of money like Canelo Alvarez or Anthony Joshua or these kind of or Gervonta Davis, those fights are all liable to be fixed. But other than that, I don't think boxing is fixed. But I think they try to manipulate the outcome as much as possible. So the boxing industry has the fighters that they pre-pick from the amateurs to the early stages of the pros that they want to be superstars. Now, it doesn't automatically guarantee that everybody that they pick to be a superstar becomes that, because there's been a lot of guys who get bankrolled a lot of money and get put in the right fights at the right time, and they get knocked the fuck out and they lose. Look at, best example I can give you guys is like maybe like Top Rank had that fighter back in the day. They had the Chinese guy, Zhao Shming. Bob Arum has been trying to tap into the Chinese market so much for all these years, because there's a lot of money to be made from the Chinese market if you can make a legitimate superstar fighter from the Chinese market. And straight up, Zhao Shming was not like that in the pros. Great amateur, but in the pros, even though Top Rank had every intention of making him a superstar, and he had that world-class matchmaking, he just wasn't good enough to win the fights. So he didn't become that. And then you get guys that don't necessarily get all the investment in them from the beginning, and they fight their way into becoming the guy you see on TV. So a couple fighters that I'll name that, and it's why some of my favorite fighters are Brian Norman Jr., Angelo Leo. Those are 2 fighters right there that did not have a lot of investment in their career early on and did not get the luxury of taking the right fights at the right time early in their career. They had to be in some fights when it wasn't convenient for them. They had to be in some fights maybe where they were brought in to lose. And guess what? They were able to win some of those fights, and that's why they became champion, and that's why they make 6 figures, and that's why they are where they are in boxing. So every fighter's career is different, but I say that to say this, which is that in boxing, a lot of fighters get picked to be superstars. And Bam Rodriguez, for whatever the case may be, he's a fighter that powers that be in boxing picked to be a superstar fighter. So once he won a world title, guess what? They made sure they looked after him. They don't put him in fights with prime punchers. Name me one prime puncher Bam fought. Prime puncher. He fought punchers, yes, but they were not anywhere close to their prime. Now, if he would have fought like before he lost to Ricardo Sandoval, if he would have fought Ken Shiro, that would have been the closest thing to a prime puncher that he fought. But guess what? It never happened, And I really believe to the core of my bones, part of the reason why he did not get a decision was because they did not want Canelo to be at 115 while Bam was still there, because Canelo would have started calling him out, and people would have started talking about the fight. So that part of me believes he didn't get the decision because the boxing industry has plans for Bam, and that's a hard fight for Bam. That's just my opinion though. Shout out to my guy for eighth. But speaking of fighters, right? Shout out to my man Fernando Paredes, ABT. That's right, champ. Good to see Fernando in the chat. You know, the one of the many fighters on Team Leo doing their thing, doing great things. You guys are gonna hear about Fernando real soon. Ken Shaw's resume is already aging well, and he's not even retired. Yeah, it's only like we haven't even got out the week that he lost, and he's already had a guy that he beat become world champion. So it's like, how you gonna tell me he's not? How you gonna tell me he's not one of them top guys? I want to see Tio and Shakur. I think that'd be a good win if Shakur can do it. Oh man, I love that fight. I would love that fight. T from Lopez only seems to show up when the fights are big, so I love that fight. You know, these guys like Shakur, Devin, like these guys all gotta fight each other. You guys can. I know a lot of you guys on here. I know a lot of you guys on here that are subscribed to me and that are watching right now. I know a lot of you guys watch Sean Tatel. So the next time Sean Tatel goes live, I'm gonna give you guys a homework assignment. One of you guys that's here in the chat that watches Sean Tatel, the next time he goes live, go in his chat and ask him. Say, hey Sean, your friend BT from True School Sports. How long has he been telling you that all these fighters like Shakur, Devin, the four kings, Ryan, Shakur, Devin, all the how long ago did he tell you that all of them are overrated? And look what Sean tells you. Go do that the next time Sean is live, because you know Shakur is probably the best of the bunch. He hasn't lost yet, and he hasn't come close to losing, and he may prove to be the best one when it's all said and done. But you know, he hasn't really been in a fight where like a true 50-50 fight yet. So we're still waiting on that from him. You know? Fernando says, I'm a big fan, BT. Thank you, champ. I'm a big fan, too. Big fan as well. Of course. Here's Jamil Parker. Why are they overrated? Okay, let's go fighter for fighter. So Devin is overrated because Devin Haney, the minute he stepped up and fought anybody his size, he got plastered. He got plastered all over the ring by Ryan Garcia. And you can say it was steroids, whatever the case may be. I don't think it was because of steroids. He took steroids. It's wrong. I'm glad. Good. He got no contest. He got the loss removed. But, you know, go back and watch. If you go back and you watch the amateur fights, them shots that Ryan was landing when they fought, he was landing back then. So there's that. And plus, I don't think Devin Haney's resume is all that great. Like, I don't think he really beat anybody all that great. I mean, best win is probably, I would say, I mean, you say Lomachenko because he got the decision, but that's how that fight was highly disputed. Some people thought he lost. Some people thought he won. So there's that. Devin to me is has always been a solid, a good fighter, but never quite as good as advertised. You go to Teofimo Lopez, probably my favorite one of the bunch, but again, I'm not biased. He's overrated. Like, he hasn't fought. He fights up and down to the level of his competition. When he fights Lomachenko and Josh Taylor, he looks like the best fighter in the world. But when he fights Masayoshi Nakatani and George Kambosos Jr., he can't seem to find his footing. So there's that. But I give him credit for taking, you know, good fights. Who else is there? Ryan Garcia. That's self-explanatory. I don't even gotta explain that one. And then with Shakur Stevenson is probably the one that I would criticize the least because he hasn't lost or come close to losing yet, but he hasn't really been in a 50-50 fight yet to lose yet. Like Zepeda, even the Zepeda fight, he was like a 5-1 favorite, something like that. So he gotta be like a Tank or like or maybe he gotta fight a Devin, or maybe they gotta fight each other. Someone has to really they have to all fight each other so that someone can stand on the top by themselves alone. You can't have 4 factions of 4 different fan bases dick riding 4 different fighters saying that the guys are the best. And the only reason why there are a lot that exists in boxing today is literally because they're not fighting each other. Tank fought Ryan, but Devin hasn't fought Shakur. Devin hasn't fought Tio. You can say why or why the fights didn't happen, but they're not happening. So to me, I've always been like, you know what, like, and I've had high hopes for probably all of them at some point in time. But I'm like, you know what, the only one I really have any hope for at this point is just Shakur. Tio is just far gone. You know, he's lost his mind. He's far gone. He's been turning down fight after fight after fight. I'm good on Tio. Devin, been good on Devin, and yeah, that's where I'm at. Now I'll tell you this: if Devin do what I think he's not gonna do, because I'll tell you right now, he's not gonna be. I don't think he's gonna beat Brian Norman Jr. I think Brian Norman Jr. is sending him to the gulag. But if he does beat Brian Norman Jr., I'm gonna change my tune about Devin. In fact, Devin will get more respect from me for beating Brian Norman Jr. because he hasn't fought anybody like Brian Norman Jr. his entire career. He hasn't fought a young, strong, in his prime puncher who's not on steroids, right? Because if I say Ryan Garcia, because Devin fans don't like talking about Ryan Garcia. They like acting like that doesn't happen. So I won't mention Ryan Garcia because he was on steroids. He's not good. He was only good because he was on steroids. So apart from Ryan, he never really fought like no young, strong, bigger, undefeated punchers that were actually at the elite level. I saw Jamil. He mentioned Antonio Moran. Antonio Moran's a good fighter. I like Antonio Moran. He won the Pro Box Last Chance tournament. He stopped who's that Filipino? Who's that Filipino he stopped? Who's that Filipino Antonio Moran stopped on Pro Box? He stopped a good fighter, a decent fighter. He's a good like fringe world level guy, gatekeeper. And that's actually probably one of Devin's better wins. That's one of the wins where I'll give Devin some credit and say, you know what, that's a win that people probably don't talk about enough. But you know, he's not a world level guy. He's like that. He's that tier right before. Like, yeah, he's beat Romero. He knocked out Romero Duno. That's who it was. Romero Duno. Mike Paul Williams was a good win. But yeah. If Haney and Brian Norman Jr. fight, it doesn't matter if Haney wins or loses. It's consistent with he's fighting better competition overall. And I hate Haney for real, for real. Yeah, I mean, he's doing his thing. I give him credit for Lomachenko, and I give him credit for I really give him credit for Brian Norman Jr. because Lomachenko he's a good fighter, of course, he's world class, but he's a smaller guy, so you know the danger factor isn't as high. The danger factor in this fight is a lot higher. Now, YSM says you pick and choose who you want to be critical on based on the love they get from the fans. Really? Why? Because I'm not like, why? Why you say that? I'm critical. I'm the most critical of my own favorite fighters. I want to hear that one. I can't wait to see. Damn, BT grinding tonight. I super chat 3 hours ago, and you still online giving box people what they want. I didn't plan on it being this long. I haven't gone live in a while, and then I started talking. I'm really enjoying myself, so that's why I'm still here talking. Yeah, you can't call a spade in boxing. Like, you can't. That's how it goes in boxing these days. And it's like, the thing is like it don't really happen in boxing circles. It don't really happen in boxing circles where people actually like in the fight game. So it's like when it happens, it's like, oh, you're a hater. But like, nah, I'm actually not a hater. I would actually say that not only am I not a hater, but I'm actually all these guys that I think are overrated. I'm a fan of all of them because if I wasn't a fan of them, right, I wouldn't talk about them. So even a guy like Canelo, who a lot of you guys still think that I hate, which it's not 2021 anymore. I don't hate Canelo. I told you guys I stopped hating Canelo on May 7th, 2022, when Dimitri Bivol beat him. It hasn't, because there's nothing really to argue anymore. All the arguments of you guys saying he's the best Mexican fighter, that he would do this and that, they all got ripped to shreds when he fought Bivol. So I haven't hated Canelo, and you know what? It's not even that. It's not even that he just lost. It's that, you know, you get older, you grow, you mature, you go through life, you see different aspects of the fight game, which I have in the last 5 years. I've seen a lot in the last 5 years. So yeah, my perspective on Canelo is not what it was 4 years ago, and it shouldn't be. Your perspective on anything in life shouldn't be the same as it was 4 years ago, because I think it was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali had a quote that said, what did he say? He said, a man who sees the world at the same way he did 10 years ago, has wasted 10 years of his life. Something like that. You just mentioned their fan bases in your argument. It has no bearing on their skills or ability. If your issue is that they haven't fought each other, then you should say unproven, not overrated. Well, no, I have to say overrated because the term overrated implies that their skills are being hyped above what their accomplishments and what they've actually shown in the ring, and that happens from people, and those people have to be their fans. So therefore, I have to bring up the fan bases. Now, do I care that Devin Haney or Shakur or Tio or these guys are popular? No. Good for them. I'm happy that they're popular. I'm happy that boxing has a couple guys that can sell some tickets and do these things. But that's the only reason I'm doing that. There's dudes that don't have fan bases that I think are that I think are overrated. Israel Madrimov doesn't have any actually real fans, and I think he's probably he's in the discussion for for the most overrated world level fighter in boxing, and he don't got a lot of fans. When was the last time Israel Madrimov had a main event in somewhere in America and sold 10,000 tickets? He don't got a lot of fans like that. His fans are people that like Crawford, that want to hype him up as something better than what he is. So that's all I'll say. Shout out to Jamil. Shout out to YSM. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the brother YSM, doing great work. Next Gen Combat TV. Shout out for the super chat. He says, "Keep speaking facts." Listen, man, I'm gonna speak what I believe, and you know, if y'all like it, cool. If not, it is what it is. Now, LRZ says Bivol is top 3 pound for pound. Stop it, BT. And I would agree with that. I 100% agree with you that Bivol is top 3 pound for pound. But what I also say is that like boxing is all about timing. And when Bivol fought Canelo, you gotta remember he hadn't knocked out anybody in God knows how long. I think since Sullivan Barrera. And Bivol, Dimitri Bivol, he looked very lethargic. I think the fight right before Canelo, if I'm not mistaken, the fight he had right before that was against Umar Salamov, and he looked very regular in that fight, super regular in that fight. It was a good performance. He, you know, the fights weren't in question, but you know, he had some fights against Salamov and Umar Salamov, and he wasn't that far removed from Craig Richards, which was a tough fight for him. And so Bivol wasn't even like having these great performances when Canelo picked him. Canelo picked him because he was an undefeated champion, and he was getting a third Golovkin fight in the second fight of a deal with the Zone. So the money was better, and the risk was lower on paper. Management 101. You get the highest reward for the lowest risk. Management reward. Management 101. So that's what he did. He didn't go fight Benavidez. He didn't sign a PBC deal that had Charlo and Benavidez. He signed the one that had Bivol, who hadn't been knocking nobody out and who wasn't looking the greatest in his last couple performances before Canelo, and it had a third Golovkin fight at 168 included in the deal, where Golovkin would fight Canelo at a weight class that wasn't even his best weight class. All right, so it's revisionist history to say that Bivol is top 3 pound for pound now, because nobody was talking. Very few people in boxing before Canelo were talking up Bivol as a pound for pound guy. He got that love from the boxing fans off the strength of Canelo, and then, you know, obviously, you know, beating Zordo and these kind of guys. But before that, Bivol, a lot of people thought Bivol was overrated. The same way a lot of you guys talk about Kenshiro Taraji to me in these comments, people were talking about Bivol like that in 2020, 2019, 2021, before he beat Canelo. So, you know, thank God I was here. Thank God I structured my channel in such a way where I cover boxing every day. So that means I can go back and I can look at what I was saying at a certain time. I can memorize things because of I was covering stuff at that time, you know. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Shout out to all of y'all here. You know what? Look, we're at 153 minutes, so that's what we need. 27. We're gonna make it an even 3 hours. Fuck it. Let's go 27 minutes and make it an even 3 hours. We here on True School Sports, True School After Dark. HBO Box After Dark don't exist no more, so now it's True School After Dark. Yeah. We here. We'll go all the way up until we hit the 3 hour mark. That Zordo win has aged well. When I thought he was one of the worst champs, 168. You know what's funny? So Zordo's one of these guys. Zordo Ramirez is one of these guys that for years everyone thought was overrated, and some people might probably think that he's overrated still, but he's gotten a lot more respect because he's become cruiserweight champion. He's unified the division. He's got two belts now, cruiserweight. He's the first Mexican to win a super middleweight title. He's the first Mexican to win a cruiserweight title. He's actually a historical fighter with over 40 wins, and Bivol the only guy that's beaten him. And Bivol didn't even have a hard fight with him. It was one of his easiest fights of all time. So you gotta respect. You gotta respect what Zotto's accomplished. You know. But Zotto's one of those guys, everyone thought he was overrated. I actually didn't think Zotto was over. I always thought Zotto was a good fighter. I always thought Zotto unfairly, I don't want to say unfairly got criticized because he was fighting, some cans and some guys that were not, on that world level, guys that were mismatches. But he had some good wins. He beat Arthur Abraham. He beat Jesse Hart when Jesse Hart was looked at to be one of the top young fighters in the top ranked stable. Zotto beat him, but people don't remember that because people weren't really people don't like watch boxing like that, unfortunately, and people aren't honest. Like I try to be honest. Like Jesse Hart, I remember it because I was a big Jesse Hart fan. I'm still a Jesse Hart fan, even though I haven't really seen him fight in a while. But like if he gets on a notable fight or gets a fight that I can watch on on a relevant card, I'll watch him fight and I'll be excited about it because I was a big Jesse Hart fan. I'll tell you guys a fun fact. When Jesse Hart fought Deshaun Johnson, he fought Deshaun Johnson when he was a prospect on one of those old like BXNG cards or like one of those type of cards, and it was on pay-per-view. It was like $20 or something like that, and I bought it. And I actually did a post-fight review on it. So I remember the Jesse Hart. I remember Bob Arum talking about him. I remember like what kind of hype he had that time. And when Zotto beat him, he was undefeated. So to me, that's a good win. I thought Jesse Hart was a good win. And then just to make sure, he beat him again. So yeah, I thought he was always a good fighter. I didn't think he was like, there was no point where I thought Zotto was like Jaime Munguia or anything like that. I always thought he was a good fighter. Unless they lose, you can't classify them as overrated, only unproven because they haven't proven if they aren't worth the hype. The jury's still out. Overrated, duck, and exposed are overused terms. They are overused terms. That's not true though. I think you can call fighters that are undefeated overrated. I've seen people argue that Ricardo Lopez is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, and he's undefeated. They use him being undefeated as one of the reasons to say that he was why he's the best Mexican fighter of all time. But boxing fans that don't really like value the lower weight categories, they will say, hey, Ricardo Lopez only fought at 105 or 108, so I think you're overrating him. So there are instances where guys can have no losses and people think they're overrated. Demetrius Andrade, who I was a big fan of, who was one of my favorite fighters, he was undefeated, 32-0, two-division champion, 2008 World Amateur Champion, and people thought he was overrated. And so I think it's all dependent upon the person. Because overrated's a term that implies that someone feels that someone's talent and skills don't match the hype they're receiving. So as long as someone feels that someone is getting more hype and or attention that their accomplishments or their skills garner, they're gonna say they're overrated, and that's all it is. It's not that hard. It's very subjective. But what's not subjective? See, like now, look, if I make the claim, right? If I say, let's just say, if I say Devin Haney's overrated, right? That's a subjective claim, right? Now I can give you my reasons as to what I'm seeing as to why I think he's overrated, and give you like certain facts about his career which support why I think he's overrated. But if you're arguing for Devin Haney, what's not subjective is Devin Haney won undisputed. That's not subjective. Devin Haney won a world title at 140. That's not subjective. Devin Haney, is stepping up to the plate and fighting Brian Norman Jr., who many regard, with Jerron Ennis out of the division now, many regard University as the #1 welterweight, and he's not taking any tune-ups. That deserves respect. That's not subjective. So, yeah, that's all it is. Fan bases or lack of fan bases are what make a fighter over or underrated. Generally speaking, if a fighter has a lot of fanfare from the networks and they have a big fan base, you know, they might be overrated. And if a fighter doesn't have the fanfare from the networks and he lacks the fanfare from the fans, then they might be underrated. So that's what all this boxing talk is about. I may think like I think Kenshiro Taraji is a future Hall of Famer because he's been dominant. He's been one of the most dominant world championship fighters for almost 10 years. But a lot of people who just saw him fight for the first time against Ricardo Sandoval and saw him lose, they say, "No, BT, you're on that Japanese shit. You think Kenshiro is he's a hype job, you know?" So your theory only works if there is universal consensus of a fighter, but that's not the case. In order for boxing to change, fans have to change. I wish fans would change, Jamil. I wish fans would change. I wish fans were. I wish fans would give fighters who take fights and maybe lose some big fights. I wish they would give them more respect. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not no big Devin Haney fan, but I respect that he's stepping up to the plate to fight Brian Norman Jr. You know, there's a lot of things about boxing culture I wish would change. I wish fighters in America would fight each other more often. I wish promoters would put up the money to fight for the fighters to fight each other more often. I wish American boxing didn't get so bad that we had to have a authoritarian take over the sport. You know, there's a lot of things I wish about boxing would change, but it is what it is. And you know, I'm married to the game of boxing, and you know, she's got some flaws I wish I could change, but I'm in it, so I gotta accept her flaws and make it work. Nah, honestly, nah. Look, you never know. One fight could change how a fighter is perceived. I think Hitchens is very good. I think Hitchens has one of the best jabs in boxing. He had that one tough fight against Lemos, which I still think he won, but he's mastered the jab better than like 95% of boxing. His jab is why he's a world champion. You know, and his right hand is better than people give him credit for. I thought the right hand is what won him the Liam Paro fight, but no, I think Hitchens is very good. Boots, my man right here says Boots' inability to cut out the ring for 24 rounds is underrated. It's underrated. You said it, not me, champ. You said it. What's his deal? Hitchens should be looking to take off right now. Tia was big, but you ain't saying Africa is big. Goofy as hell. Who, me? They're both big. I mean, they both really like. Tio should probably be at welterweight. Hitchens should definitely be at welterweight. I don't know how the hell he's making 40. He's a big guy for 40, but nah, man. Hitchens is good though. I like Hitchens. I think Hitchens can win a world title at 147. I really do. There's a lot of debate about like if Hitchens would beat Devin. Devin would be Hitchens. I think Hitchens would beat Devin. Honestly, I think he's a better boxer than Devin. My question is, guys. Shout out to you guys rocking with me at like what is it, 2 in the morning, two something in the morning. My question is, I wonder why like Keith Conley won't just make Hitchens versus Tio. He's got control of both guys now, so it's like you got control of both guys. You're getting two paydays. Like you're getting two paydays. You know that fight makes sense. You know it makes sense in New York City. They got belts. They got names. There's not really like, in my opinion, there's not really any marinating that should happen. That fight should be happening next. And if you're not doing that fight next, then you should be looking to do really the fight I want to see is Hitchens versus Matias. I feel like that's the fight that needs to happen because Hitchens was the IBF mandatory. He waited for Matias to lose the fight Paro. Now they're both champions. Now it's a bigger fight. Okay, good management by Keith Conley. That's why it's Keith Conley. But now they got to go ahead and fight. But there's options. They got options. Dwarte versus Sims looked like a bootleg Canelo Crawford. Ooh, that's some food for thought. That's some food for thought. Listen, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I know these days. I want a Crawford to stay up. I want a Crawford to fight Boots, and I want a Crawford to fight some of the guys at 54. And I really don't like this Canelo Crawford fight, if I'm being honest. But I'm not gonna do that to Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford's a great fighter, and he's got a lot more dimensions than Kenneth Sims Jr. and he's a smarter fighter than Kenneth Sims Jr. So I won't do that to him. But you're not wrong though. That fight could play out similar. I don't have an official prediction. I'm gonna nail down right now, because I'm gonna give it some more time before I make my official prediction. But right now, you asked me, so you say BT, what's your prediction for Crawford versus Canelo? I would say I'm going with Canelo by decision. I don't think Canelo's gonna knock Crawford out because Canelo don't knock nobody out these days. He don't knock a soul out these days. But I think he'll be strong enough to make Terrence Crawford have to get on his bike and circle around the ring, and I think Terrence will get hit and he'll be like, you know what, hey, this guy punches really hard, and I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna box, and if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. But I'm getting paid either way. So I think it'll go the distance. It might be a close decision. It might be a wide decision. But either way, I think Canelo is winning a decision. That's my prediction for now. Now I might change it because, funny enough, guys, and I got a video dropping on this soon. But I made a video about Canelo fighting Crawford back in 2016 because Crawford and Canelo took a picture with Amanda Serrano at the WBO convention that year. And I made a video talking about it, and I'm re-releasing it soon, so check it out. But in that video back then, I said that Terrence Crawford will beat Canelo, but now I'm feeling differently. So it's funny. It's funny to go back and watch it. What do you guys think? Let's take a poll. There's 50 of you guys here. Just let me know in the chat. Who are you picking to win that fight? You got Crawford, you got Canelo. Let me know in the chat. I want to know. And let me know why as well. Give me your best reasons as to why. I know a lot of people are saying Terrence Crawford because they say like, oh, let me see. Who do I think lands on the undercard? Oh my God. Who is the undercard is, so from what Turkey said that the fight's gonna, the card's gonna be like 3 days. He wants to make the card 3 days long. And I actually know a fighter, I'm not gonna say his name, but I know a fighter who's a very close friend of mine who got offered to fight on the undercard against a very popular undefeated prospect. And I'm praying to God my friend takes the fight because I think he has a chance to beat this guy. But he would need to get that fight to be an 8 or 10 rounder. If it's a 6 rounder, it's gonna be very difficult to beat this guy. But yeah, a lot of fighters are getting contacted to get on the undercard of Canelo Crawford because it's gonna be a big undercard. It's gonna be a big event. Like, I give Turkey. Here's where I give Turkey some credit. So everybody who's listening, I'm about to say something positive about Turkey Al-Sheikh. Turkey Al-Sheikh, I like what he's doing with this card in terms of making it like a massive gargantuan event. Like it's not just about Crawford Canelo. Like no, he's trying to make this a 3-day event. He's trying to make this shit like the Lollapalooza of boxing. Where all these guys are gonna be fighting, and it's gonna be a lot of prospects, which is cool. So I'm happy for the prospects to get their shine. We'll see how it's executed, but I know a couple fighters that have been contacted to be on the card, so we'll see how it goes. Turkey is the face of boxing, absolutely not. But he's a figure. And I'll tell you this: if you believe that, if you believe Turkey is the face of boxing, well, that's the indictment on where boxing is right now. So you don't want Turkey being the face of boxing. You don't want any promoter. You don't want Eddie Hearn. You don't want Bob Arum. You don't want Don King. You don't want none of them being the face of boxing. It has to be one of the fighters. Fernando Vargas Jr. versus Walsh. That's a good fight. I've heard about that fight being it's happening apparently. Callum Walsh is a big, strong kid, a limited puncher, but so is Vargas Jr. So it's a good fight. Yeah, the fact that Canelo versus Crawford is on Netflix and not pay-per-view is wild. Yeah, see, it's gonna get a lot of eyeballs. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. We'll see how it goes. Maybe in the end I'll be wrong and Turkey will be the greatest thing to ever happen in boxing. But I'm just gonna sit here and wait and see, and I'm gonna be here to talk about it. When they do Japan versus the world card in Saudi, will you watch it or will you force yourself not to watch it? No, I'm gonna watch it because it's my job. I gotta watch the fights, whether it's Turkey, Pro Box, Boxer, Queensberry, M&R boxing promotions, the rinky-dink fights in Florida, the rinky-dink fights in Vegas. I cover boxing, so whether I like it or not, I come on here and I force myself to talk about fights I don't want to talk about sometimes. So it's part of the game, I was against the fight and had Canelo by landslide, but after the skull face-off, it's a 50-50. I have more questions than answers. Yeah, I'll be honest. Before the skull fight, I was like, I was definitively picking Canelo by decision. Now I'm kind of questioning it. I'm questioning it because if Crawford can take Canelo's punches, and I believe he's smart enough to circle around the ring and outbox a guy like Canelo. Canelo doesn't have great stamina. Canelo hasn't been, like, to me, the last like great version of Canelo was when he fought I don't even want to say Caleb Plant. Like he was very good when he fought Caleb Plant, but I'm talking about the last like prime version of Canelo was when he fought Billy Joe Saunders. Because I went back and I watched that fight recently, and I gotta say, man, yo, he looked like Zach Thomas. Yo, Canelo, I know he looks like he has an NFL build. Listen, I don't know what he was on back then or if he was on anything. We know he tested positive in the past, but bro, he looked like Zach Thomas back then from the Miami Dolphins, number 54. He looked different back then. It was crazy. And I never realized how much different he looked until I went back and I watched it because it's been so long since I've seen that fight. Rescinding the Ali Act is about to turn boxing into a controlled entity like UFC by TKO Boxing. You should read more into it. I have, and I got a video coming out on that. And I've been telling you guys about all this for a while. Like, so it's not like it's not news to me. It's not news to me, and it's not news to like Sean Tatel. We've been sticking our flag in the ground for a while on what this is all about. So it's not too crazy. Well, let's see how it goes. I don't have the most faith in it being a good thing, but let's see how it goes. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll be the greatest thing that ever happened in boxing. Maybe yeah, maybe it'll be great. What do I know? Canelo's carne asada was hitting different back then. It was, man. He looked like Zach Thomas. I'm gonna start calling Canelo Zach Thomas. If he shows up this fight with the Zach Thomas, whatever he took for the Billy Joe Saunders fight, if he comes into this fight looking like Zach Thomas, I don't know, man. Crawford might be in trouble. He's giving us the fights we want to see. Oh, here we go. So now you forced me to say it. At least you're getting the fights. That's what everybody keeps telling me that we're getting the fight. So my response to that is if he's really giving us the fights we want to see, why aren't we getting Canelo Beterbiev? Why is Inoue fighting guys that nobody wants to see him fight? Well, he's not fully a turkey fighter. So I won't hold Inoue against him. Why have we got? I'll camp out there for a second. If he's really giving us all the fights we want to see, why no Canelo Beterbiev? Nobody really asked. Like let's be real here for a second. He gives us fights with big names, right? I'll give him credit for Usyk. Usyk Fury, he gets a lot of credit for it. Beterbiev Bivol, he gets credit for it. And those are legacy fights, so he'll get credit for that. But let's be real. Are any of those fights bigger than Canelo versus Diaz Benavidez? I would venture to say no. I think Canelo Benavidez, even now, is probably, if it were to get made right now, probably the biggest fight in boxing. We ain't getting it. They asked him about it recently on Talk Sport, or no, the Boxing Voice, and he said that he's not even thinking about Canelo versus Benavidez till like 2017. Bro, Canelo will be retired by then. If Turkey was all about getting us the fights we want to see, why not Norman Boots? Why not Norman Virgil? There's all kinds of matchups I can name. These featherweights that everybody's saying don't unify because they don't want to fight each other. Why not Angelo Leo versus Espinoza? Why not we can go on and on and on. Why not Bam Rodriguez versus Junta Nakatani? Did I say 2017? I meant 2027. He said that he's not trying to do Canelo versus Benavidez till 2027. He wants to do Benavidez Yard, and then I think he said no, for Canelo, he said Canelo's gonna fight Crawford, then Canelo's gonna fight Eubank, and then he's gonna fight I think Benavidez or someone else. I forgot, but he said 2027 was the exact year he said. He says because that's not in his plan. Well, okay then. Then it discredits the notion of giving the fans the fights they want to see. He gave the fans a couple of fights they wanted to see. And then, for the most part, the majority of the fights have been big names, right? That in fights that really nobody asked for. Nobody asked for Anthony Alvarez Benavidez, and it's a good fight, but nobody asked for Anthony Alvarez Benavidez. Nobody asked for Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Nobody, like, some of these fights have been good, some of them have not been so good. Jao Pataya, right? Jao Pataya is a guy that's with Riyadh season. He hasn't fought a soul since he's been Riyadh season. Why can't we get Jao Pataya versus one of the cruiserweight champions? That's what I'm saying. Like, he wants to make Canelo Alvarez fight Benavidez by 2027. Like Philippians 4:13 said, the Florida Panthers are going to have 5 Stanley Cups by 2027. That's right. Are the Archer Beterbiev Najee Lopez rumors true? From what I've heard, yeah, they seem to be true. Turkey is more about putting two names together. Half the fights proposed didn't make sense at the time he was trying to make them. Exactly. Turkey comes. So his mentality when it comes to boxing is that he believes that as long as the fight is with two big names, that people are gonna want to see it, and that automatically makes it a good fight, and that's definitely not true, because like that it's just not. Like, styles make fights. So look, the perfect example we could give of this is like the Times Square card. A lot of big names, but they weren't necessarily great fights. Like, now, the one fight on that card that I can definitively say I knew for a fact was not going to be an entertaining fight or a good fight was Jose Ramirez versus Devin Haney. Number one, I didn't think the styles would mesh well. And number two, Jose Ramirez has been mentally checked out of boxing for at least 2 years now. So I didn't think we weren't going to get the Ramirez of, like, that fought Maurice Hooker, right? So I knew that fight was going to be bad. I can't really fault Turkey for Ryan versus Rolly. I didn't think that fight was going to be bad. But Teofimo Lopez versus Barbosa was always destined to be a bad fight, because Barbosa is always in bad fights. So all I'm saying is, he puts two names together, and a lot of times the fights don't make sense. Another example, right now, Alexander Usyk, Usyk don't got nothing more to prove. He's actually one of the few fighters I can honestly say has nothing more to prove. He could retire, and I wouldn't fault him for not fighting anybody left in the heavyweight division. But if he's going to continue to fight, the best fight and the fight that makes the most sense out there for him, and the guy who's earned it, is Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker has been heavyweight champion before. Joseph Parker is a guy that really and truthfully, he beat Zhang, he beat Wilder, he beat these top guys, and he's a 6 foot. He's a really good fighter. Like, he's one of the top fighters of the heavyweight division of his era, right? So he deserves that fight. But Turkey don't want to make that fight. He wants to put Usyk with Moses Itama, who hasn't even been in an actual legitimate fight yet. So it's like, nah, man. It's he's hit or miss. Who asked for Ben versus Eubank? Now, Jamil, I'm with you on that one. I didn't really want to see Ben versus Eubank, but that's a fight for that fight is a big fight in the UK. A massive fight. That fight is one of the biggest fights in the history of, as much as I hate to say this, that fight is one of the biggest fights in the history of British boxing. So as much as I want to shit on that fight, I can't, because of who their dads are, and even though the fight doesn't make sense, and I know Ben is a welterweight and Eubank was like a 68-pounder, the fight is terrible. The matchup really doesn't do anything for the grand scheme of the competitive integrity of boxing, but it's a big event. And it made a shit ton of money, so I'll give Turkey a pass for that one, but it was terrible. Yeah, I didn't ask for it. I wanted to see Conor Ben fight someone at welterweight, maybe fight Virgil, maybe fight Rashidi Ellis, maybe fight just someone in the welterweight division. I wanted to see Eubank fight, someone for a title, someone like Janibek or yeah, Ian Green. I'm gonna shout out to Ian Green. So someone in his weight class that's good. He don't have to fight this welterweight. He got knocked down twice by Zhang. I can't fault anybody who gets knocked down by Zhang. Have you seen what Zhang is punching like? He got up and he outboxed him and he outmaneuvered him and he won. The UK did. You Americans don't have any fighters that want to fight each other. Who asked for Boots versus Yamantis? Why didn't Boots give some of his purse to Norman Jr. like he did with Stenya? That's how I feel. You know, I feel like he should have did that for Norman. It would have been a great fight. Would have been a great fight, but you know it is what it is. You know, such is life. Ken Crawford spilled milk. Boots is fighting Haney and Norman is fighting Haney and Boots at 54 now. If the fight is meant to happen, Boots will keep winning, Norman will keep winning, and their paths will eventually meet, and the fight will be like 20 times bigger when they fight at 54. But yeah, I agree with you. Conor Ben versus Barrios. That would be shit. Conor Ben might fuck around and beat Barrios. Barrios, I don't know, man. You know, credit to him. He's a guy, like I said, he ain't the most talented guy in the world, but he steps up to the plate. He takes some big fights, and he's got probably the best management team behind him. Who asked for a welterweight unification between Boots and who asked for welterweight unification? They both did. Boots asked first. Norman turned it down because his management team probably felt like the fight could be worth more. So that's their prerogative. They turned it down, right? And it was Boots' prerogative to move to 154. But Eddie Hearn had stated before the Sasaki fight that they would negotiate the Boots fight, and Boots went to 54 after. So it is what it is. They both wanted the fight. Timing wasn't there. I'm a little upset at Boots because he, in my opinion, he wasted a year at welterweight. I think he wasted a year at welterweight. If the best he was gonna do at welterweight was fight Standing Honest, I would rather have just seen him just go to 54. Because that's what I wanted to see in the first place. Wasn't until Norman. You missed my point. Dude asked me who asked for Boots versus Standing Honest. Ah, okay, I understand. That's true. It's a unification fight, so I'm not gonna fault the unification fight. It's just not the unification fight that. It wasn't the #1 unification fight, but you know, it's boxing. Boxing is a funny game, man. Boxing's a funny game. But look, I'm a big believer that if two fighters are destined to fight each other, it'll happen. You know, Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis had multiple instances where they could have fought each other. Everybody always talks about when Lewis put the belt in the bin, which is true, right? But they don't talk about when they had a deal in place. I think it was in 95 or 96. Bowe beat, who did Bowe beat? I think Bowe had beat Herbie Hyde, or it was somewhere around that time. And all Lewis had to do was beat, I think it was either McCall or Rockman. It was one of those two fights. One of those two fights he got knocked out against an American. And the deal was in place, but Lewis didn't win, so that went up in smoke. So it wasn't meant to be. Sometimes it's not meant to be. So we'll see what happens. Nobody asked for Boots versus Stanios. An inactive welterweight. Dude had 39 fights, 147, and fought one second-rate champion. Yeah, it was his welterweight run was very underwhelming, and I'm hoping at 54 things be different because, like I've said many times, you know, I feel like his career it's starting to feel very Demetrius Andrade-esque. And I love Demetrius Andrade. I love Demetrius Andrade as a fighter, and I love Boots as a fighter. But they all, each time it came to move their career in the right direction, Andrade seemed to always make the wrong move, and it seems like thus far, through 34 fights in his career so far, Boots has made the wrong move. Now look, he's getting money, he's selling tickets in Philly. On that end, he's doing well. But in terms of getting those significant fights that are really going to showcase the talent and the greatness of Jerron Ennis, he hasn't been able to do that yet. He hasn't been able to put those fights together for whatever the case may be. And a lot of those cases happen to be because of himself. When he was at 147 and people wanted it, and he was and they wanted him to fight Virgil 54, he said, no, I gotta stay 147. Then when they said, hey, okay, fight this country dude from Atlanta at 47, he said, no, I gotta go to 54. I can't make the weight no more. So it is what it is. If Haney becomes undisputed at 147, I mean, it's pretty weak division. Surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, if Devin becomes undisputed at 147, I'm gonna give him all the credit in the world. Because I would never think that Devin Haney in his life would go undisputed at 147. So even though it's this division isn't what it once was, I don't think he's gonna beat Norman. So just by him beating Norman, that's like, wow, that's impressive to me. If he does that and then picks up all the belts, I'd say respect. If Norman ducked Boots, then Boots ducked Crawford on Bill K. Prime because he was low at a Showtime, which we're going under. I mean, people say that Norman ducked Boots. I'm only saying that Norman ducked Boots because I was saying it at the time when it happened. But like time and understanding and getting a bit out my feelings, it's made me realize that that Norman wasn't wrong to turn that down. Like you got management teams for a reason. Like they felt like they could get more. They felt like they had a blue chip talent that could win fights in a certain manner that was going to raise his stock. And guess what? He's done that. They had done right by him. He's done right by them. And the fight was there. And it was going to be 10 times bigger after the Sasaki fight. And, just Boots says he can't make the weight, which, I have a hard time believing because he was saying for the Stanley Honest fight that he could make the weight. But, things change, I guess. So we'll see what happens in the future. Hopefully it can happen. 5 more minutes, guys, and I'm gonna get up on out of here because I said 3 hours. Right? Are we at 3 hours? 60. We're actually at 3 hours. So look, guys. On that note, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Shout out to everybody who joined the live. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to Golden Boy for a great card and you guys for the great boxing talk and all the love and support. A lot of videos coming out. I'm getting started on my interviews tomorrow again. I'm getting started on my interviews again tomorrow. So yeah, stay tuned for those. And yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm JustAKidFromDania. So until next time, take care, guys.